Hello, hello. Hello, happy Friday. I'm late today. I'm so late today. Here I am trying to be a responsible regular streamer and show up at the same time every week, and I am not at the same time this week. I'm sorry, my apologies, but hello, I'm here. Hello. Today is an exciting day. I'm really stoked. 1 minute, just making sure I have all of the things on my end lined up that I want lined up. Oh my gosh. Okay. Hello, happy Friday. My week has been crazy, so crazy. We have a deadline on Monday. Yeah, we have a deadline on Monday. So, and that's been insane. So that's preoccupied a lot of my time this week as well. I'm gonna spill some tea for you guys. I haven't really talked about this in my stream yet, but I'm involved in planning a music festival. I'm helping with a music festival this summer that isn't too far from where I live. It's about like 40 minutes away, but it's a camping festival. It's overnight, and there's like so many things to take into account for that. So I know I always make so many excuses for why I'm late for my streams and stuff like that, but like honestly, I work full time and I have this festival on the go, and I really want to do like streaming. So between those three things, it's a lot to juggle. It's been pretty crazy in my life lately, but I'm happy to have made it. I'm here. Hello. If you're new to my channel, if you haven't come seen me yet, my name is Angora Builds. I'm an architectural technologist based out of Western Canada, and I model buildings in 3D for a living. So if you have not been familiar with what I'm doing, come check me out before. I am not a designer. I'm an architectural technologist. So my role is primarily more the construction drawing side of things, and like 3D modeling buildings, coordinating the 3D models on my team, coordinating between engineers and consultants and stuff like that. Is my mic levels okay? Is my audio okay? Hold on, I want to sit a little bit further back. Today's kind of an exciting day because it's a clean slate today. We're starting a brand new design series. We're doing a whole new project from scratch. So if you're tuning in for the first time, coming to hang out today, hello. This is my oh, thank you. This is my like launch into the next thing that we're focusing on. Yeah, so I'm not a designer. I'm an architectural technologist. I am only focusing, I guess, on the technical side of things in my role. But I love design, and I don't get to do it with my position at work. So I started this channel here to do it for fun, live. Hopefully with all of you, hopefully collaboratively, because it's a lot more fun when you can talk about things, bounce off ideas, and have different opinions and stuff like that. Just last Friday, we concluded the van design series, which is my 1975 Chevy G20 camper van. It's a real project. It's in my backyard. It's about 60% done. And so we finished designing the rest of it on stream, which was... I loved it. It was so fun. There was quite a few things that we needed to hash out still, and there's some things left with it that need to be hashed out, but I feel like that'll be while we're actually building it and constructing things. Right now it's just it's on hold until the weather's nice enough. So right now was a good time to hash out some of the unknowns on paper, which is really cool. It's really nice to finally feel like summer's coming and spring is in the air. But we concluded that last week. You can check out, Twitch doesn't keep VODs for longer than a week, so I'm trying to do my best to keep up with uploading my VODs to my YouTube channel. If you wanted to check that out, I'll also be posting like highlight videos or like highlight summaries of basically that whole series and each step of the design phase. So how I approach things and what we do on this channel, my intent with this channel is to have different design projects that we do from start to finish in the same way that I would do it professionally in my office, in my line of work. So we follow the traditional, I guess, like design process accurately on stream up until, I guess, the construction documentations phase. And like, obviously for this tiny house phase that we are launching today, I'm so excited about it, but we're not actually gonna build it. It's just, maybe I'll build it one day. Maybe I'll build it one day and it'll live in my computer until one day we want to flush it out. But there is, well, should I get into the design phases right now? Hold on. I guess I'll get into it. Okay, I have on the side, this is why I took a minute here, because today I want to be a planning day. So we're launching this tiny house series. We're going to design a tiny house from scratch. We're going to do it using the same design process I would in my office. But I don't necessarily know if today is the day that we actually like start diving into some of like the research. The first design phase is pre-design though, and that is when you look into more of like the feasibility, the existing conditions of your site, the neighborhood, the zoning, things like that. Because this is a fictional tiny house, I don't necessarily know how much pre-design is really going to be involved with that. I think the one thing we'll have to do is take some time looking up. I'm curious about trailers. Like most tiny houses, when they're constructed, they do it on trailers because generally, from what I've seen, local municipalities don't allow building like dwellings that small. There's a lot of code issues with tiny houses and things like exiting and fire safety and stuff like that. So where a lot of tiny house builders get around that is by putting it on a trailer, because then it doesn't really classify as a permanent dwelling anymore. I think it categorizes it more as like a RV or like a trailer or a mobile home, I guess would be more accurate. And it kind of works too, because I think a lot of the people that build tiny houses and are like gravitate towards that lifestyle would rather be more remote and off grid. So it makes it a lot easier knowing that you can do it somewhere else and then just like bring it to where you are and where you're going. So today I wanted to focus more on, I guess, our plan of attack, what we're gonna do in what order. Last time I did this off stream with the van build, but I figured I could do it live today. We could hang out and I'll share a little bit of like that process and how we think about it. I found that I think we could even get into a little bit of React content too, because I found this one video on YouTube literally just this morning, and it was a mini like documentary video about like the extremes of house sizes in like North American society, and how there's like this really huge polarity between like the really small and the really large. And I think it gets into some good conversation about like how much space does the average human actually need to dwell comfortably and stuff like that. So that's all that I know about it. I kind of wanted to see what we could learn from it before we get into this tiny house design series, because it might help with taking some things into account for the actual design process and what we're doing. So let me show you what I have here. And the one thing I wanna talk about today before we get into the actual like pre-design and the actual tiny house series, I'm gonna just spend a little bit of time talking about the stages of design again. I talked about this a bit when we started my initial design series for our camper van. And so I have that VOD on YouTube, it exists there. And that was so long ago, that was back in February. So let's do a little bit of a refresh here. I'm gonna just, let's go a little bit closer. Here we go. Okay. So before we dive into what we're planning, let's talk about the stages of design. And there's 5. I have 4 listed here, but there's 5 because I kind of wrapped this last one into one. So the first design phase is our pre-design phase. And this is where we're doing more of our feasibility studies. This is where we are assessing our existing site, the existing conditions. We're looking into zoning. We're looking into the surrounding community and potential like impact studies of our project and stuff like that. If it's a renovation or like a retrofit or something, this is where we'll do our as-builts or our like dimensioning of the existing space, and we'll dimension all the existing walls, the existing ceilings, the existing systems elements too, like mechanical, electrical. This is where you know all of that. When it's a retrofit, especially when it's a renovation, you spend a lot of time in this pre-design phase because it's very important that you get it accurate. My office actually, at this point, just 3D scans a lot of the work that we do because it's so much more accurate, and it's a lot quicker actually too. And it's really nice after the fact if you're like, I'm not quite sure, I didn't end up measuring what the height of the mullion was on that window. Then you can pull up the scan and take a look at it. But again, for this tiny house design series, I think it's just the trailer we'll take a look at, and like different sizes of trailer options and weight capacities and things like that. I honestly have no idea what you even have to consider. Like, can you just buy any flatbed? Does any flatbed work? I don't know. So we'll figure that out. Next phase after that is our schematic design phase. And this is more of the programming. So, and when I say programming is kind of it's determining the elements that you want in the space, or like the components that you need to fit within the space. And that can be whether that's people, like in a commercial office project, like I generally do most of the time, or like say in the tiny house context, that would be like, oh, okay, well, we know we want a kitchen, we know we want a bathroom, we know we want, like, do we want 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, do we need a full-size living room, do we need to fit a dining table? We'll hash out a lot of those needs and wants, what goes into the space. And then in this same like schematic design phase, I view those programming elements kind of like Tetris pieces. And you'll configure them together in such a way that comes out with a floor plan or like a layout. And there's some like bigger elements that we'll kind of account for in this schematic design phase, like probably the size of the fridge, the size of the bed, but a lot of the more granular details, the finish colors, the hardware pulls, the fixtures for your faucet, all of that stuff we'll select in our third design phase, which is design development. This is also where you'll look at, oh my goodness, there we go. This is also where we'll look at things like our configurations of our cabinets. Like, oh, do we put drawers here? Do we put shelves here? How do we configure them in such a way that will be practical and useful to the space? We'll look at more like in the context of our van, but I think we'll see this in the tiny house as well. This is where we're gonna hash out more of like the interlocking, or like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like overlapping details. Like if you have a sofa, for example, that turns into a bed, this is where you're gonna start detailing out some of those things and how they actually work. So this is my favorite phase of design actually too. And by the time we get to this design development phase, especially once we have our finishes picked and stuff, this is when we can start actually doing our interior rendering. A lot of the like 3D modeling will start in the schematic design phase, and we will 3D model like the floor plan layouts and stuff like that. And then design development just kind of builds off of that. But for the tiny house, yeah, we're gonna do for sure interior rendering. We'll be able to walk through the space in 3D. It's gonna be, I'm so excited to do this. I think it'll be really fun. And then the fourth and final design phase, which we're not gonna get to this with the tiny house build. We're just keeping it all digital. But this is the construction documents phase, where you actually make blueprints, and then the construction phase itself. And the construction phase itself especially is an adaptive design phase. So if you unearth something in your, especially this happens all the time in renos too, like if you unearth something that you didn't take into account for, it's a surprise, or something got built a little bit inaccurately and the dimensions are off, sometimes you have to adjust and sometimes you have to compromise. So we're seeing this with our van build actually, especially because how we've constructed our camper van is each piece within our camper van, the bed, the sink millwork, the stove millwork, everything is modular and kind of independent, and we're building them in the order of what needs to be the most fixed in its dimensions and size, and then what can be a little bit more flexible. So for example, in our camper van, our bed we didn't want to compromise on any size in our bed and make it smaller. So we built the bed first, and then everything that's around it, say our sink millwork, for example, we could afford to make it a little bit smaller if in practice when the bed got constructed, it was a little bit off. Because that tends to happen. And I know, like, even in my industry, in the real world, I think we have there's generally a give or take of like an inch, I'd say, for dimensioning and things like that, and then they kind of factor in the costs and adjustments from that accordingly. But yeah, as we work through the design series, we'll do it by phase. So maybe today, honestly, likely today, we'll see what time it is. We'll start off with our pre-design and do some preliminary research. We can even kind of like, I'm kind of curious, I haven't even looked if there's any videos about like building a tiny house from the start and stuff like that. We'll see what's available to us. Schematic design, I think, well, these two, schematic design and design development is where we'll spend the most time. And timeline speaking, I'm not sure how long this is even going to take us, because I started our van design series back in February, mid-February, and we just concluded it last week. Like, design takes time. It takes time. It takes patience. It's fun though, because the tiny house is going to be a lot more of an undertaking than the van build, but I thought it would be a good springboard to do next from the van build that we came off of, because it's a bigger undertaking, but it's really not that big in comparison, depending on the size that we pick, but it'll still take a lot longer. We'll spend more time focusing on, especially in design development, focusing on specific areas. Like, I'm sure there's one day where we'll just spend all on the kitchen, and one day we'll just spend talking about the bathroom, things like that. The cool thing about the design process and how it works is that what I do on stream with this is applicable to anything that you do yourself for DIY projects and stuff like that. So if you're renovating something in your house, if you're restoring an RV, if you're doing anything within this realm of design, can follow this same design process. So I'm hoping that by sharing how I work through these things, it's helpful for other people too. And I will actually be doing real projects on stream after this one. I think we'll focus on the tiny house build. We'll see how long it takes, because if the van build took 2 months, and that was me, I just streamed once a week though. I'm trying to stream twice a week, but let's say, give or take, this tiny house series takes at least 2 months too. I'd like to, after this one, we have to renovate our bathroom on the main floor. And so that'll be a real project, again, kind of like our van, and it'll be way smaller than this tiny house series. But that's when, again, we'll see more of this construction documents and construction phase actually get actualized too. But it's exciting. I'm stoked. Again, this design process is applicable to any project, so I hope that is helpful. And I think I kind of talked a lot about this even just now. One sec. Let me see if I missed anything. Yeah, programming is based on design context. Oh yeah, so yeah, let me get into that too, and maybe this is something we can talk about today. So not only, like, when you're thinking about what goes in a space, and there's obvious things like the specific rooms, I guess. Like, we know we're gonna want a kitchen, we know we're gonna want a bathroom, but what programming really gets into too is like how you are using your space, who is using your space, and what are their values and priorities. So a family of 4, for example, is gonna have a different needs from a kitchen as opposed to a single bachelor that's living on their own, right? And we'll see, again, same thing with our bathroom design, same thing with our bedroom design. If the person that we were designing the tiny house for had mobility challenges, for example, well, that needs to be taken into account in this phase, because that means we can't utilize any lofts in our design, as an example. So we'll spend some time focusing a lot on the how, who, what, when, where, why, how of this series at the beginning. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, and lots of research. On lots of research. We hang out and react to tours, Pinterest things. So anticipate that. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. I'm definitely coming in a little bit less structured today than I was intending to, just because my week has been so crazy. I have not had time to sit down and even like edit my videos or anything this week. I feel quite behind. Content's kind of funny that way too, because it feels like it's like supposed to be a constant stay on top of it and like keep at it, like post a short every 2 or 3 days or post something on Instagram within this window. Like there's a lot to take into account. But okay, yeah, I guess we'll just dive into it then with the tiny house series and we'll have a go. Actually, let's find that video that I was talking about. Hold on, I'm gonna just jump into my just chatting quick here. I wanna watch this documentary quick on like housing sizes and stuff before we get into this. I'm really curious about what it'll say, and then maybe we can get into, I guess, like tiny house trailer research. Y'all, I find these like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of these like improv streams a little bit more stressful. Oftentimes I have a bit of a structure that I follow before I go into something and I know what I'm kind of gonna do in what order throughout the day. I haven't launched a new like project since February, and that was literally the first time I've ever launched a project. So thanks for hanging out and having patience while I hash this out. What is the title of this video called? I saved it on my personal Instagram and I was like, shoot, I need to remember what it's called for my public one. But yeah, I hope your week's gone well. I hope it's been a lot more chill than mine. Again, the fact that the weather's getting much nicer is so uplifting. This music festival that we're planning for though is like, we're in the process of locking in our lineup right now, and I think we're trying to do that by like within the next week. So I think like that's what's like really, I think once this is all locked in and it gets, because I'm helping with like curating a stage specifically. So I think once that gets locked in, it'll be a little bit smoother sailing for even like my ability to be consistent. Housing sizes are getting absurd. That is what it's called. Here we go. Is this one here? I'm super curious about it. So if y'all want to hang out for a minute and watch this first, and then we'll get into, I guess, tiny house trailers? I don't know, like, can anyone else think of anything that I might, because we won't have like, we're not gonna put it on an imaginary site. Maybe we'll talk about where in an imaginary universe this tiny house might be, but I think for the sake of simplicity, I might just make it in my climate. Plus, I understand construction in our climate. When I went to technologist school and learned how to do my job and focused more on like residential construction and stuff like that, they definitely taught us more from the Canadian angle, where we actually have winter and we have cold for 8 months of the year. But let's pause this music here. I want to jump into this one. Let's hang out and give this a watch first before we get going. I was so curious. I need to know, see what they have to say.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. Get access to it.
Let me know if the audio is okay too.
Let's compare the world's smallest houses with the world's largest. Just how small and how big do houses get? What are the most important design and living considerations that go along with each of these scales, as well as the ones that are in between? And finally, how much space do we actually need in order to live comfortably? I took my drone out to visualize the different sizes of houses from across the world. I'm at a park on the west side of Chicago to mark out these footprints. But first I want to use the human body as a device for comparing these houses, from the smallest to the largest. Standing, the human body takes up about 2 square feet of space, or 0.2 square meters on the ground. Interestingly, the human body has a long history as a measuring device for our buildings, dating back all the way to the beginning, and even including architects that show bodies on their designs to set the proportions of their compositions. But at the smallest of scales that might be suitable for occupation, these spaces are usually designed to minimally house the human form while lying down. These are probably not yet full-time living environments. They're maybe just a place to sleep or rest your body while you're laying down. We're talking something like a camping tent, which might be around 15 to 20 square feet. But out of necessity, there are built spaces this small for human occupation, but this isn't a space that's lived in full-time by choice. But capsule hotels might also offer a space this size to rent for a short time to step away and rest. By the time we get to about 100 square feet or 9 square meters, we get something that's about the size of a room that I'm used to, or a very tiny house. For some, this might be the threshold for permanent residence, but it's going to present a number of challenges as well as benefits. At this scale, your entire home is basically one room. In order to cram everything into a space of this size, there's not much room for off-the-shelf furniture. It just wastes too much space. Most furniture in a single-room home has to be built-ins and designed to provide a number of functions simultaneously.
So this is my kitchen area and my steps to my sleeping loft, and so I use this as storage as well.
Coincidentally, our last video on the Nakagen Capsule Tower featured a building with capsules that are around this size. Spaces for living at this scale are probably changing over the course of the day as the occupant is making it suitable for pending activities like cooking, working, or sleeping. You're probably not entertaining too much in spaces like this either, or having guests over. There's certainly no room for a game of ping pong. So residents in the 100 square foot range rely heavily on local amenities and activities to provide social and collective experiences.
Is
on the
that
flip side,
a bad
Henry
thing?
David Thoreau's famous one-room cabin at Walden Pond was about 150 square feet, and there the surrounding wilderness was where Thoreau spent the majority of his time. Spaces this size are great for your carbon footprint, as they don't require much energy to heat or cool, and nor is there much material maintenance. But there might be psychological costs if these outside amenities don't offset the feelings of constraint and claustrophobia that could come with too much time that's spent in a small space if it's secluded. Next up are residences that are between 300 and 500 square feet or 46 square meters. Now we can start to get room divisions, but it's most likely a studio with a bathroom. You can also get a kitchen in there. We're still below the threshold of the size being an average size for apartment sets anywhere in the world, but there are plenty of examples in this range. Carmel Place in New York, for instance, is the city's first micro-unit tower. The small size and the shape of the units allows them to be constructed off-site in a factory, put on a truck, and lifted into place with a crane. This saves on construction costs and time. While these units are still tightly designed for functional purposes, they will hold normal furniture like a sofa or chairs, just not really everything at the same time. And at this size, you're close to the
I wanna look at these floor plans for a sec, 1 minute. Modular construction is actually some of the best construction for the environment. Given that it's in a controlled climate, there's a lot less room for error and mistakes. The construction tends to be of better quality too, because again, it's in a controlled environment. You're not exposed to factors like the weather. Given that you are within an indoor space when you're constructing it too, you are working on like a flat pad, which tends to make like things like how things are fastened or like the air tightness of the envelope and stuff is more reliable when it's constructed modularly for that reason. So that's really cool. It is kind of funny, this paradox that I'm seeing too between this surge in the tiny house movement, and also I'm seeing in contrast to that sort of a critique or rejection for small apartments. I see this especially where I live, kind of in Western Canada, where we'll build new apartment buildings with units that are incredibly small, and there's a lot of complaining, a lot of critique on the impracticalities of having such a small space, especially when they, at the same time, we are hearing this rhetoric from, I guess, municipal bodies and stuff like that, that we should be living in higher densities and we should be lessening our carbon footprint by living closer to where we work and stuff like that, which requires more urbanism. But then in contrast, we're not building apartment units that will support families, for example. It tends to cater to more of the single or coupled white collar worker, but it also tends to be these small apartments, and maybe this is where the critique comes. They come at a quality that is typically for the upper middle class, or intended for the upper middle class. So the finishes are pretty ornate, the fixtures are more high end. So I guess maybe now that I'm wondering out loud, this contrast that I'm seeing between a gravitation towards the tiny house movement, the tiny house movement has become what it has as a rejection to affordable housing for, like, I guess, millennials. I don't know how much Gen Z we're seeing is adopting tiny houses quite yet, but looking, I guess, at modular apartments like this, like, I think small spaces like this are very clever, and they do get you more out in your community and in your environment, hopefully. It's a little bit different maybe in Canada, where we have winter for 8 months of the year, and maybe that's where some of the semblances of claustrophobia come in, whereas tiny houses are more generally in rural areas, more out in nature, typically as you see them, or at least very close access to the outdoors, as you're able to step right out your front door, hopefully onto the ground. Whereas modular apartments like this, not only are you confined in a small space, but you're confined in a small space very close to everybody else that is also confined in a close space. I'm just taking a minute to look at these layouts quick too. I'm curious for how they have these designed, and because what I often see in small spaces that are built in the city, they will build them small but leave out integral elements in order to save space, such as closets for your bedroom, storage at the front door for your shoes and your outdoor wear, things like that. They will forego those things, kind of putting it on the homeowner to be like, okay, well, here is what we have for you, but if you want to have clothing storage, you can buy a wardrobe or more for yourself, and then try and fit it in this small space. And I'm even kind of seeing a little bit of that in these plans that I'm looking at here. I do see some closet storage, one closet storage, but if we're looking at these layouts, there isn't really a lot of space for, but I guess he did show the interior renders. It looks like we have some built-in millwork storage, so maybe that does offset, and if it's built in and kind of integrated in the space, great, way better. If they're putting the onus on the purchaser or the dweller of the apartment to source furniture to accommodate for their storage needs, not good. So
Sofa or chairs, just not really everything at the same time. And at this size, you're close to the threshold of using the space to address some of the psychological needs of dwelling that go beyond merely the functional daily requirements. For instance, we tend to feel happier and healthier when we can bring others into our space to telegraph who we are and what's important to us. The guru of minimal.
see, and this is actually why I, if you recall in the van series, my partner and I don't intend to live in our van for more than 6 months, because again, recognizing this need that we would like to have space that we can bring people into, we can entertain, even just having walls for us to be in separate rooms, I think is really valuable. Although I do think getting into this space, it gets a lot more, or this size of space, sorry, it gets a lot more feasible to actually do those things. So
Living and Tree Hugger founder Graham Hill, he lives in a 300 square foot space, and he claims that his apartment will sleep 4 people comfortably, and that he commonly has dinner parties for 12. He says, "My space is well built, affordable, and as functional as living spaces twice the size.
But does he live alone?
Carmel
Because if it's just
Place's
him
designers
and then he has
and
people over
architects
sometimes,
also
that's
show
very
a
different.
configuration on their website with this very setup of 12 people having a dinner party.
Oh,
To meet with a TurboTax expert.
yeah, this is really interesting. I'm curious, I guess, if there's any commentary on the internet somewhere of the contrast between tiny houses that are standalone houses and small spaces that are high density urbanized spaces. I'd be curious to know if there's any like sociological perspectives on why one might feel better than the other. For example, maybe it's the proximity to a bunch of people, like tiny houses are typically more in nature. Maybe it's also the type of person that is generally like gravitating to one or the other of those lifestyles, whereas like maybe a tiny house owner or pursuer would be more partial to enjoying living rurally and alternative ways of living, whereas someone who is living in the city and isn't really as aware of alternative ways of living may feel as though they are being forced into small living spaces, which is what I hear the rhetoric in the location that I live to. It's like, oh, if you're gonna live in the inner city, if you're going to live in the urban parts, you're going to be confined to a small space, whereas why would you do that when you can go move to the suburbs and you get so much more space? Is it the size of the space though, or is it the proximity to people? I think if there's well-designed neighborhoods, which we see in Europe, it makes it a lot more desirable. There's so many questions. Oh, I muted it. One sec.
Feet or 93 square meters. Now we're at the size of an average dwelling in a number of different countries, like in Italy, Sweden, Japan, France.
Oh, he's going
Germany,
there. He's
Spain,
going there.
All right around that range. A space this size is usually pretty adequate for a couple. It might be a 1 or 2 bedroom layout. It's also about the size of the model of the post-war suburban home in the US from Levittown called the Jubilee. It costs about
Okay, he might actually get into this before I even have to say it, but yes, the average square footage of the single family home in the mid-century, I'd say around the 50s, 60s era, I believe was 900 square feet. And the average square foot of the detached home in North America today is, I believe, 2,500 to 2,800 square feet. So we have more than doubled the amount. And keep in mind, too, that back in the mid-century, the 900 square foot house size was typical or conventional for, I guess, like the nuclear family and designed for a family of 4. Which is interesting, too, because we see the housing sizes have increased, but we've also seen a decline in birth rates, too, right? I don't necessarily know if the nuclear family is so typical anymore, but the sizing of housing has like ballooned. It's crazy.
about $11,600 in 1956 and targeted veterans with growing families. It was only slightly smaller than the average home in the United States at the time, as a typical house of this era would hold 3.37 people on average. This size is so commonplace that it seems like a little bit of a sweet spot for urban environments. There are compromises, it certainly can't accommodate everything, but the necessities are there, and it's flexible enough to be configured in ways that it would suit a large majority of the population. But houses across the United States have grown since the days of the Jubilee.
Oh, he's gonna go there.
All the way to about 2,200 square feet or 206 square meters on average. This is despite the fact that
Actually,
the
that's
average house
larger, or
today
that's
only
smaller
holds
than
40
I
people.
had
That's
learned
2.6
in school.
compared to the 3.4 of 60 years ago. There are a number of reasons that go into the supersizing of the space and simultaneously thinning out of the inhabitants. These range all the way from zoning laws to the availability of mass-produced building materials. Earning the right to more space just seems very American, a country built on colonizing the frontier. But also thinking about homes as financial investments, which leads people to buy more than they need, with the thought that it will yield a greater return on investment goes into this as well.
This is such a big thing. This is actually, okay, so this investment factor, I think there's this common misconception I see that like the larger your house, the safer the investment. Interestingly enough, that is why we opted for the smaller house that we have, though, in the inner city where we live, because when there is an economic downturn, suburban homes, especially those on the outskirts of urban areas, are the first to lose their value the quickest, and they are the slowest to regain their value. So if from a investment perspective, it is actually quite a bit safer to, if you can afford it, invest more into the inner city urban areas, even if you're less, like our house is quite small. Our house is like 950 square feet and there's 5 people that live here. We could have opted to get a 2,000 square foot house or more even, maybe, for the same price range that we could afford. But, oh, the audio quality is a tiny bit quiet. Is that on the video? I did turn it up a little bit. Yeah, especially for the, where was I going with this? With this thought? But yeah, I'm curious if he's going to speak to housing as an investment. I do see where I see, thank you, on the YouTube vid. Yes, okay, I'll turn it up a little bit. Let me know if it sounds good when I press play again. I think where this might not count though, like this is specifically more for detached housing. I don't necessarily know if this applies to condos, at least in Western Canada where I've seen it. I think the condo market seems to be a little bit overinflated right now just because we keep building them. But it's, yeah, I wonder, he might get into that too. I'm curious.
On the flip side though, there are all sorts of negative effects of living larger, including pollution from cars, which inevitably transport people between these large buildings, sprawl, which leads to more impervious paving, etc. As we move up, one interesting design consideration is that most house styles got their start when houses were around 1,000 or 2,000 square feet. So say the elements of the craftsman bungalow are sized to fit a
I
building
love
of
this
size.
style.
The porch, the gable roof, the windows can all fit comfortably and seem to be in relatively pleasing proportions when attached to a small 3-bedroom home. But as things get bigger, say around 5,000 to 10,000 square feet, we start to get into the mansion territory. This is where a new set of frictions develop.
Oh my god, I should pull this up after. We should go through this subreddit. I found this subreddit. It's called McMansion Hell, and it literally just like rips apart these giant mega homes that he's probably going to talk about here. It's hilarious.
Design, because a building this size is clearly larger than functionally necessary.
Also, I'm going to preface this by stating too that I am incredibly opposed to housing of this size. I think it's wasteful. I think that it is just more of an ego flex than anything else. I don't think that the average person needs more than maybe 2,500 square feet. Obviously, that conversation changes if you have a lot of children or a big family that's sharing the space with you. However, if there's any discussion about large housing on this channel, I am generally very opposed to it and probably going to be very harsh.
Unless filled with extended family or other functional necessities. Buildings of this size have trouble looking like a normal house. It's hard to look like your neighbor when significantly larger than it. Those craftsman bungalows I was talking about earlier, which are comfortable at around 2,000 square feet, now they need to be 5 times as big. This is how you get McMansions, a term that was coined in the 1980s for the kinds of homes that were springing up across America where their showmanship outweighed their craftsmanship.
Yeah.
There's an amazing resource called
There's so many of
McMansion
these.
Hill, run by critic Kate Wagner.
Oh my god, he literally, okay,
Does a
he went
close
there.
analysis of why McMansions are bad architecture. It
Thank
includes
you.
a lack of clarity and hierarchy in their designs, and she breaks down all the failures of houses that are built like this.
Yo, we should go over this on stream one day.
I highly recommend it. But in addition to how they look, houses of this size present unique layout conditions that come from the ability to tailor rooms to even more specific requirements than your typical bedrooms and kitchens, etc. It probably has more bedrooms than people, and spaces can be dedicated to very narrow functions. So extra special attention tends to get paid to rooms like foyers, which might become a main feature in a house like this where it didn't even exist in a smaller house. Foyers mark and create an event out of the entry sequence. So guests in a 10,000 square foot house start to get their own space. As the house expands beyond the everyday needs of those living there, the display and entertainment of others becomes a more pressing motivation for the design. A house of 10,000 square feet might require a full-time staff person to maintain it and/or the grounds around it. Even furnishing a house this size might cost $1 million, as it requires vastly more elements to occupy the space. Moving up in size yet again, now we're getting huge at 50.
I need to note too, and this is more of a, I guess, like a comment for anybody that is ever looking for a new place to rent or a new place to live. Oftentimes, a lot of these larger scale rooms that we've seen adopted in McMansions, like the foyer or even maybe the powder room at one point was technically within this umbrella. House builders will distract you from the functionality of a space by applying those more like luxurious amenities at a smaller scale to make it feel more high-end than it actually is. We'll see this with things like angled staircases, 45-degree angled walls, or like giant soaker tubs in the suites in your bathroom. And it's in practical application, it's actually generally really dysfunctional and kind of annoying especially when you get into smaller spaces where they're trying to cram these, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess like high-end or luxury aspects of these larger builds into more of like the 2,500 to 2,000 square foot like show home. So that's
50,000 to
one annoying
square
thing
feet,
to
or
account for.
9,300 square meters. Now houses of this size are starting to look like and behave like more bigger buildings like hotels, schools, or malls. They probably have a staff of a couple dozen, similar to the way that a hotel might run. The foyer alone might be as big as an average house, and rooms are dedicated to crazy specific activities like gift wrapping rooms, haircutting rooms, or holding collections of objects like dolls or other collections. At this scale, your home begins to dominate its surrounding context, becoming a prominent feature visible to anyone within maybe a 15-mile radius. The home includes features typically only accessible and available as public amenities like entire parking garages, gardens, Olympic-sized swimming pools, or movie theaters. Two examples of houses this size are the Spelling Manor, owned by Aaron Spelling. It sits at around 56,000 square feet, and closer to 100,000 square feet is the house called The One. It's the biggest modern home in the United States.
I wonder if I can find tours to
105,000
react
square
to
foot
these.
Los Angeles mega mansion that just fetched $126 million at auction.
Did you know you can double your interior?
Does anyone ever need this much space? This is insane. This is crazy. We get a lot of these though in Canada just because we have such an expansive land mass too. Oh, let's skip. There we go. We'll
It's
keep
the
going.
largest house in the world at an insane 400,000 square feet or 37,000 square meters. It's called Antilia, and it rises 27 floors above Mumbai.
That's like
It cost
apartment
over $2
size.
billion
Like
to
that's
build,
like
and
the
it took 6
size of
years
an
in
actual
construction. It
apartment.
has 9 elevators, 168 parking spots, 50-person movie theater, and has all
I've
sorts
had
of crazy
office
features.
projects
It's a multi-use
smaller
skyscraper.
than this.
This house is basically a small vertical town with a total of 600 full-time staff. At this scale, it is clearly not just a house anymore, and out of the reach of anyone except for a handful of people. But I want to scale back down a bit to discuss some data around the scale of our living spaces. Studies show that most people, if living alone, can live ideally in spaces between 100 and 400 square feet. One of the driving factors in dissatisfaction with the size of one's space has to do with its proximity to people that live in larger spaces. This is according to research by Clement Bellet. Bellet argues that dissatisfaction then is a result of comparison, not objective qualities in the size. In the
So
Wall Street Journal,
that would explain, I guess, the phenomenon that I mentioned earlier of people in Western Canada where we live pointing to the suburbs and being like, oh, but look at how much they get there.
Journal's Stuff of Families, they gather data on where family members spent their time at home. They even created a map showing the location of each parent and child on the first floor of the house of Family 11 every 10 minutes over 2 weekday afternoons and evenings. And the researchers found that 68% of the family's time was spent either in the kitchen or in the family room near the TV and the computer. One interesting tidbit of information that the average visible possessions in each home was 438 books or magazines, 139 toys, and 39 pairs of shoes. But all this is to say the obvious, that we tend not to use the entirety of our house. There are efficiencies to be had, and much of our clamor for space likely comes from comparison and the accumulation of objects, both worth a second look for their roles in our lives. If you're interested in learning more about home sizes and their histories, I highly recommend The History of Home narrated by Nick Offerman, found on CuriosityStream. In the final episode of the series, they focus on private life by exploring the history of 3 rooms, the study, the bedroom, and the bathroom, and my next video will be specifically on toilets and bathrooms. If you use the link down in the description,
We should watch those. The History of Home. I'm going to add this to somewhere. I'll add this to my list of. That'll be really interesting, and seeing where the sizes go with that. Yeah, it's kind of funny because, and I think it's most evident in the contrast between the sizes of residences that you see in North America versus everywhere else in the world. But again, North America is a lot more susceptible to urban sprawl and requiring a car to get places. I think that we are lacking in good infrastructure for transit and walkable amenities. I see this there's this concept, oh my God, it was the target of kind of a conspiracy theory back a few months ago when the World Economic Forum met and talked about 15-minute cities and the establishment of more 15-minute cities around the world. It kind of spun off into this crazy conspiracy theory about forced districts and segregation and stuff like that. However, at its core, I did learn about this in school back in the early 2010s. Generally, at its core, a 15-minute city is just a city/urban environment where all of your amenities, your work, your education, your healthcare, your shopping, everything is within a 15-minute walk of where you live. And so it's better not just for, I guess, like from a time perspective, because everything's close, but it's actually psychologically, it's better too, because the more people that we have in walkable neighborhoods out on the street, the more semblance of community you feel, the more likely you are to know your neighbors and interact with them. It didn't really get into the design of the suburbs either in North America. I'd like to see if we have a good photo of it. But in contrast to back when this style of home was more prominent, this was during an era where we used to interact more with the street, I guess. So back in this time, children would typically play outside more in the front of the house, and it was more like a social occurrence to have the front porch and hang out there. That brought forth this phenomenon known as eyes on the street. Oh no, I forget the sociologist or the urbanist that coined the term. It was a woman though, but it was more, how would I say this? It moved away from this in the 50s or 60s with the prominence of the car in favor of, can I find where he is the screenshot of our suburbs here, more in favor of, I guess, this. Oh, this is maybe not. More in favor of the garage on the front of the house, and then the porch and the outdoor social areas moved into the backyard of the house. So instead of being out front and interacting, like your kids could interact with their neighbors more readily, you were more likely to run into people and talk with them. It kind of moved us more into this kind of segregated isolation. So given the lack of walkability within suburbs and the necessity for a car, and how the social outdoor spaces have kind of been confined within the lot that your house is on and kind of tucked away behind the lot, suburbs are generally more isolating, and even though you have more space, they tend to feel less, I guess, communal or neighborly, so to speak. So I have a lot of criticisms about suburbs in general, but I bet you there's a whole video that we could find that gets into that whole phenomenon. So I'd love to actually continue watching. I'll dig a little bit further into this history of home, and if we want to get into watching it on stream, especially when we get into more of the specific rooms for the tiny house series, like the kitchen and the bathroom, for example, to see if there's ideas or perspectives or ways that we can better design them to utilize the smaller space that we have. And I did know already when he mentioned the research that had been done on the average space utilization within a house and how oftentimes there is rooms that go unused. And this is actually, we see this in commercial office design as well. It's funny, my office actually has a whole like side team where they research using occupational sensors and stuff. They'll research the flow of a space that we're going to renovate to see what people are actually using the most and where they're spending the most time. But yes, it generally means that there is a misconception for how much space we need to live in to feel comfortable. It's more of a quality over quantity thing. So you want to ensure you could have the biggest house ever, but if the flow is not good, if the organization of it is off, it won't feel nice. There's this book actually written by a professor from the architecture department at the University of Calgary. It's called What's Wrong with This House? I actually I tell all of my friends to buy it because it breaks down even just like using floor plans. It talks about impractical distractions, as I mentioned, with home design, and why why a house might be poorly designed, and how to look for a poorly designed house, what to pay attention to if you are looking to buy or rent a new house in order to have it feel functional. So even when I talk about the whole concept of the triangle of flow in your kitchen, for example, where you need a nice triangle between your fridge, your sink, and your stove for the orientation around it to feel comfortable to work in, I believe actually it was this book that I originally learned about that concept. It has since been reiterated in my design courses that I have taken in post-secondary and stuff. But it's a really good read. It's John Brown and Matthew North. I don't know if it's just one of them that was with the University of Calgary or if it was both, but it's a really, really good read. It's also really short. It's only like 90 to 120 pages or something. And the cool thing too is that it actually comes with a checklist at the end of the book too. So if you're looking for a new place to rent or a new place to buy, it'll have a handy checklist where you can kind of score the properties that you've been looking at to see if it is going to feel, if it'll be a practical place to live. It's really good. It's really nice to have in my arsenal of books in my library on hand. So, I'll look into this docuseries. I would love to react to it on stream, actually. That seems fascinating. It seems like a really cool topic. Maybe the only other thing I want to get to today, let's spend some time, I guess. This probably isn't the most exciting thing ever, but let's spend some time digging into tiny house trailers. And I know nothing about them. Can you just buy any flatbed trailer? Once we determine this, okay, let's set a goal. Let's, by the end of today, before I leave, let's pick the size of trailer that we will be designing our tiny house off of. And I think there's quite a few sizes. I think it goes all the way, I think the average one that I see is 28 feet. I wonder if I can get a write-up even on, all about tiny house trailers. Is this, hold on, let me read the description. Maybe we can even just watch a video on it. I like learning by watching. I like learning by watching a lot more than learning by reading. Split shift trailer. See, I don't know if this is what we want. It's a split shift. How to build floor for a tiny house on trailer. Actually, okay, we're definitely gonna watch this one after we pick a size because I am very curious.
We're Jacob and Anna White. We are
God.
carpenters from Alaska.
Oh my god, stop. It's only 6 minutes too. I would like to know this, but tiny house trailers. I feel like we're getting, this is a specific manufacturer for them. Okay, we'll pick a size. Let's pick a size today. And I think the average size is 28 feet, I swear. Oh, here we go. Here we have a whole list. See, okay, maybe it's just as simple as picking a manufacturer for a trailer and then just moving forward as though that is the one that we're gonna work with. But yeah, 28 is kind of the mid-range size I see very often. I think they will go as small as 16 feet, but I feel like that's too small. And then once we get into more of the 36 feet, I think you reach a size for tiny house trailer where I don't even think the average like large pickup truck can tow it anymore. I think you need to hire a semi essentially to pull it for you. Okay. And then I have to wonder as well is this, because this is a tiny house trailer manufacturer, is this a gimmick? Are you going to pay extra for a company that says that they cater to tiny houses specifically with their trailer lines, even though it's really not that different from a typical flatbed? Or is it worth it? Is it worth it to go for one that is specifically for tiny house trailers? How to pick one. How to choose the right size for your DIY build. Okay, let's read this article out loud. We'll see what they have to say. How to decide the size and weight. And this is the other thing too. Weight distribution. I feel like I see this ignored all the time. I see this ignored especially in the van build community. Nobody ever really talks about it, but I'll see people post photos on the van build subreddits of their 2x4 builds. And they'll use just like conventional sized lumber. And that gets so heavy so quick. And so even with a tiny house, for example, just thought train that I have in relation to this. So when you are building a conventional stick frame house, the exterior walls, I believe you use 2x6 inch studs placed at 16 inches off center. And then most insulation that you would buy for residential construction is designed to fit within the 16-inch wide cavity. Now there's modifications to that you can do. You can go instead of 16 inches, you can go 24 inches or 2 feet separate. That'll save weight, but then you're kind of compromising on stability and rigidity, which in a tiny house on wheels is that how much of that is a concern? How often will you be moving the tiny house? Or alternatively, instead of doing 6-inch, you could do 2x4-inch studs in your exterior wall, which would decrease the amount of insulation that you put in it, but you would make it lighter that way too. So, and this is more just the technical brain, the technical side of me that thinks about these things, but I do want to take it into account, because then when you're constrained to the dimensions of a trailer of this size, well, do we want to make our walls 7 or 8 inches thick, or do we want them to only be 6 inches thick, right? So again, it seems negligible, but it would really impact the amount of space, especially when you're getting into small spaces like tiny houses, where every inch matters. So we'll take some of these things into consideration, but I do want to read how to choose it right for your DIY build. So the trailer you choose for your tiny house is one of the most important elements of your final build. It supports everything on top of it. So if it's not good quality, it puts your entire home at risk. That too, I actually would be very nervous to buy anything that was, I guess, too old or like past a certain age. Or, I mean, I guess you could inspect it visually, but like your trailer fails, your house fails. And the problem with that too is, I guess, it's not like you can just pick up your house and then put it on a different flatbed and keep going and just replace the trailer. if the trailer fails, then you're essentially just stuck disassembling your house and then rebuilding something else from scratch, right? So it's incredibly important. Hence why I want to spend a little bit of time just thinking about this and learning about it before we get into design. Choosing the right tiny house trailer supplier. A lot of companies and private sellers offering cheap or secondhand options are offering cheap and secondhand. While this is tempting, it's important to be very careful. Once you've built your tiny home, changing the trailer will be very difficult. Yes, that's why choosing a reputable supplier that only sells engineered trailers is important. Okay, so maybe this is answering my question. Maybe you do go for the specific trailer under the tiny house purpose. This will guarantee its safety and durability. If you need to reduce costs, you can do so at many other stages in your build. So yes, in the same way that for our van build, for example, there was aspects of it that we would not splurge on, such as our fridge, our solar setup. We will not be cheaping out on any of our plumbing elements because we want them to work properly and not leak. So I would imagine the trailer is one of those things. The trailer is probably going to be the biggest investment of the house build. That is how I would go in preparing for this. It is also ideal to choose a company that builds trailers specifically for tiny houses. That answers my question. The purpose-built tiny house trailers will be specially engineered to support the structure you need for your tiny home. Most of these are sold at set lengths and weight ratios, but if you want something outside of these standards, make sure the supplier can build one to your specific needs. So this Tiny House Trailers Canada company that I came across does have custom sizes available. However, again, that would probably be an additional cost that you would be looking at. It depends, I guess, on how much it matters to you. 36 feet is very large, so I don't know what you need in addition to that. I'd like to know more, I guess, about the weight capacities too. I'm curious about, because I don't know how much 2x4 weighs, and I've never taken the time actually to try and calculate the weight of these things. However, I will say, building our van, we've built our van using 2x2s and 1/2-inch plywood. The 2x2s are actually a little bit smaller, I think, than the 2x2s that you'd buy from a store, because we salvaged 2x4s from our basement demolition when we renovated our basement back in 2021. We were able to salvage all of the 2x4s and the plywood from the original build. It used to have in our basement, the floor was raised about 4 inches plus plywood off of the floor, and I think that was for like heat or like insulation so that the floor didn't feel so cold, but it made the height of the ceiling very low. I think it's only about 7 feet without the raised floor. So with the raised floor, if you were like a 6.5-foot tall person, you were probably bumping your head on the ceiling. But because it was raised, it was actually sick, because we got full sheets of plywood that were like almost perfect, and then they used 2x4s turned on their sides to create the framing for the floor. So we got so much wood, and so for our van build, we just take the 2x4s and we cut them in half down the middle whenever we know, like if we know in our van build the countertops are not conventional countertop height. In your kitchen, your countertops are about 3 feet tall, and in our van, because of the height of the windows, our countertops are only 2.5 feet tall. They're 6 inches shorter. So even in how we've constructed everything on the interior, we've never really needed any pieces of wood longer than that. So cutting the 2x4s in half, once you cut them at that nominal length, is super easy. So actually, let's get some music going in the background now that we're not watching anything again. There we go. We'll start over on a different song. So I've never actually really thought about how much weight is a factor for tiny houses, especially when it gets to, again, getting to towing capacity and being able to do it yourself versus having to hire someone else to do it for you. Another item that I know needs to be taken into account is the height of the tiny house that you build, because I think the maximum is 13 feet. I think it's 13 feet is the tallest you can build because of how high, like the clearance for bridges and stuff. There is a standard height like semis can be, or like any vehicle can be on roads, for it to be able to clear under bridges, under tunnels, things like that. And you want to make sure you can actually transport it to those places, or through those places to where you want to take it. So it's very kind of limiting, and that's why you see so many lofts too. That's why all the second stories are so short on tiny houses, and they're not full height standing. However, there's one tiny house design. We're gonna watch it on stream probably next time when we get to schematic design. It's my favorite tiny house ever, and they have solved the standing problem in the loft. It's incredible. It's so smart. Okay, anyways, choosing the right house trailer supplier. The first step is to find the right supplier. There's lots of companies and private sellers offering cheap or secondhand options, and while this is tempting, we read this already. Common types of trailers, this is what we want. There are two main types of tiny house trailers to choose from: flatbeds and goosenecks. Are flatbeds the one? Oh, goosenecks must be the one where it lifts, and this is, I think, where you get into needing, you need a truck with one of those, I guess, special, what are they called? Like the fifth wheel trailers use them. I'd like to know more. Okay, I'd like to know more about I guess how difficult it is to tow these ones with the gooseneck style trailer, because it seems it tends to be, these trailers tend to be larger, especially when you look at the recreational trailers too. Like the fifth wheel RVs are the ones that are massive, and I think it's because you were able to utilize the space that goes over the cab of the truck. But how difficult, especially talking about a tiny house where this will be significantly heavier than just a conventional camping trailer, how difficult is this to move? But then that also bodes the question, if you're building a tiny house to live in, how often are you going to have to be moving it? And so if you only have to fret about it once or twice in the lifespan of the tiny house, maybe this is less of a concern. So flatbeds have a standard hitch and a built-in bed of metal that sits above the wheels. They're ideal for maximizing the use of floor space, as the bed sits at the same width as the wheels. Goosenecks have a curved, raised neck instead of a standard hitch. They're ideal for building oversized tiny houses that won't be classified as vehicles. Interesting. Be aware that if you do choose to build an oversized tiny house, you'll need a special vehicle and permits to drive it on Australian roads. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same in Canada, given that we are sort of similar. Monarchy, republic, right? Overlaps, maybe? Question mark? Flatbeds are by far the most common, but if you don't plan on moving your tiny house often, a gooseneck can offer more flexibility in the build. Okay, so that answers that question then. Interesting. How to decide the size and weight of your trailer. The size of trailer you choose depends entirely on your personal needs and priorities. Okay. Trailers that can be easily towed on Australian roads have a maximum width of 2.5 meters. Ooh, that, I wonder if that's something we need to think about. Let's do maximum width of a trailer in Canada. Might have to look at BC specifically. Is that, but I imagine it's probably the same federally, right? I would say, because it'd be silly to have a maximum width in one province and then get dinged for the maximum width size in a different province. I don't think it would vary. So the most significant variety is its length. This usually ranges from 5 to 12 meters. The longer you choose, the heavier and harder it becomes to tow. This is what scares me about tiny houses, is trying to tow one. Okay, so as for weight, there's two things that need to be considered. 1, the total weight of the trailer and everything that will sit on top of it, including your belongings. If you plan to tow your tiny house on Australian roads, the weight cannot be more than 4.5 tons. The second thing to consider is how much weight the actual trailer can carry. This can be calculated by taking the aggregate trailer mass, oh god, and subtracting the weight of the trailer. Okay, It's best to leave some wiggle room here in case you need to add any extra weight in the future. To choose the size of your trailer, it's important to know what you want from your tiny home. Some things to consider is how many people will be living in it, how much weight your vehicle can pull, how many separate rooms you would like, how much storage you need, and what style and design you prefer. Okay. So this is telling me maybe then that in my head, how I thought we would order this or do this would be we would pick the trailer and then design based off of the trailer. Now I'm wondering, well, like we can keep some of these nominal sizes in mind, but like here, this Tiny House Trailers Canada does have a whole list of different lengths. They're all 96 wide. This is Tiny House Trailers Canada, so that tells me that they are aware of the bylaws. There is oh, interesting. There is a 100-foot wide model. Oh, and 100-inch wide model, and there's a 120-inch wide model, which is 10 feet wide, which tells me that you are able to go wider than this conventional 96. You can also order bump outs, seismic tie downs for hurricanes. Interesting. Removable tongue, stabilizer jacks, HD jack on the corners. Okay. Standard features. 96 wide is standard. Okay, for the sake of simplicity, maybe we'll just design to the 96-inch wide standard. But I think maybe keeping in mind these nominal lengths between 20 to 36 feet, maybe we select which trailer size we use after we do more of the programming in the schematic design phase. Perhaps we do that. And I don't think we'll have time to get to the actual programming today because I think that'll just be a little bit of thinking, a little bit of time. But that's good to know. So it's not designed from the trailer. Maybe you design for the trailer if you got a trailer for free or like inherited one or got one super cheap or your family had one or something. That makes more sense. But I guess in this instance, we'll just do what we want to do. We'll just do what we want to do. And then we'll bring in the trailer after the fact. I bet you I can find a tiny house trailer already modeled in SketchUp or something too that we can just like bring into Revit and then insert underneath and then model everything around. So things to keep in mind while looking at tiny house trailers. Is it properly engineered? How much weight can it hold? What features does it have? Some great options include handbrakes, rear lights, stabilizers, anchor points, and its own VIN number. Interesting. Is the VIN number in case someone steals your tiny house? Does it help with that? Is that why that matters? Is that why that's helpful? I don't know. Does it have durable finishes? Yes, we learned this with our van too. Rust is a bitch, so avoid it entirely at the beginning. Has it been galvanized or painted for extra protection? Hot dip galvanizing. Okay, never heard of that. And how much does a tiny house trailer cost? Is it a reasonable price without being concerningly cheap? You can expect good quality trailers to come between $11,000 to $22,000 depending on what features and specifications you need. Okay. I wonder how much these ones cost. And this is the only manufacturer we found in Canada. I wonder if there's another one. Tiny House Trailers, Canada. Okay, there's a Action Trailers. There is another company. This one starts from, oh, this one has prices. That's kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much for us because we will never actually build this. But the length, 30 feet, 28 feet. Oh, it has prices. That's kind of cool. So a 30-foot long tiny home trailer here, according to this website, is about $12,000 right now. Actually, not as terrible as I thought it would be. In my head, what I was concerned about, because tiny houses are kind of like a thing, a trendy thing, I was worried that they would inflate the cost of these flatbeds to like, I don't know, like 25 grand or something ridiculous as a base, just because it's like, it is what it is. Kind of in the same way that the wedding industry just like inflates things, and then if you go in saying that you're not actually having a wedding, you're just having a family reunion, all of a sudden the venue that you're trying to rent is $2,000 cheaper. Is she speaking from experience? I do want to maybe get a second opinion. I like this, so we're gonna bookmark this. We'll keep this. Let's see if we can find another article that gets into... Oh, here, we got a video. Should we watch a video? Best tiny house trailer. How to select the right tiny house trailer. It's some guy talking at the camera. 6 key moments. Price, location, customization. Lead times actually is also important. Oh, and customer service. Okay, I think he knows what he's talking about. We'll watch this one video quick. Teach me about tiny house trailers. Actually, before I get into this, I'm gonna go to the washroom. I'll be right back. All right, let's send it. I muted this. Let's unmute this.
A tiny house. Hey everybody, Will Mosby here, back with yet another video, and in this video, I'm going to cover day 1 of my tiny house build. So let's go.
We're jumping.
Price. I'm not going to list the price or even tell you what the price is. If you want to, you can go to their website and you can get a quote for your trailer and they can quote it out. So my trailer is going to be 28 feet long, 8.5 feet wide with drop axles. So there's 3 axles on them, brakes and all that stuff. We'll go over all the details to the trailer tomorrow when I go and pick it up. Let's just go over the reasons why. So price, yes. Were there other manufacturers that had a lower price? Just by a little bit. And let me tell you, back, a year ago, just a year ago, looking at trailers, I was looking at trailers then to see what the cost was. And these things were sometimes around $5,000 to $6,000 you could find a decent trailer. They have really, really bumped up in price right now. Watch out if you're out there looking for a trailer. Next was location or delivery. Delivery right now is through the roof. Everybody. So if they were going to deliver one to me or coordinate something like that,
so this video was from a year ago.
Very expensive to have something that large brought to you.
This video was from a year ago, so that I think was more still in the thick of kind of the COVID backlog for delivery and manufacturing and stuff, especially overseas. I don't know if that would still apply today. I think things have gone down since.
And set up on your property, even if I was going to like meet them halfway. Very, very difficult and very expensive. A lot of the manufacturers, come to find out, are West Coast. I'm East Coast. That doesn't make it very convenient. That was one of the things that I found out with Tiny House Basics. They had a couple of different locations, I think 4 different locations across the U.S., if I got it right. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Tiny House Basics. There's 4 manufacturing facilities. One second, that little air conditioner's coming on. But they have 4 manufacturing facilities across the U.S. And the closest one to me is right here in Pennsylvania, about 17 miles away from this hotel. So, 8 hours away wasn't too bad. Again, delivery cost, delivery fee, that was going to be extremely expensive. Having a convenient location for me to be able to just go and pick the darn thing up and drive back, and that kind of put me in the driver's seat, which I'm a control freak. So I kind of like that idea. And so that just worked out for me. So that's 1 and 2, price and location. Those were really my top 2. And then there was customization of the trailer itself. I could get really what I wanted. There are a few things that I wanted, and I'll talk about those more tomorrow, but I definitely wanted a 8.5 foot wide trailer. I wanted 28 feet long. I wanted the ability to drop axle. I wanted the ability to have a bump out on the front.
What does drop
or the
axle
rear, basically
mean?
the front, to house maybe like a utility shed or the mini split. So that was a big deal to me. An extended tongue, that was a big deal to me.
What
so
is
this thing
that?
comes with a 5-foot tongue, 22-inch working deck.
What is that? What is that? What is that? Extended what is that? What is an extended tongue trailer? Is that the what are you? Does anyone in chat know? Oh, is it the where the towing bit is? Is that the part where it hooks up to the back of the vehicle? Is that what he's talking about? Like the hitch portion? Oh. This one.
Because that's going to save some headroom, because we're limited by 13 feet 6 inches total by Department of Transportation.
Okay, this is a really good thing to take into account. I didn't even think about this, and maybe this is where he gets like what he means by the drop axle. But if there is varying heights that the trailer can be from the ground, it would be more ideal to have something a little bit lower so that you could get more of the height clearance within the actual tiny house itself. However, I would have to wonder if that would cause issues, especially given weight, because as you put weight on, the trailer goes lower, and does it create issues when you're transporting the vehicle with bottoming out anywhere and things like that, especially if you are parking the tiny house in a more rural area and you do have to go on a dirt road to get to where the tiny house will be situated, even if you have to drive literally on grass or something, for example. Those things I'd be curious about knowing more details for.
I can't exceed that. So having that trailer drop down an additional 4 inches is that's gonna show up in headspace in the loft area. That's a big deal. Next was lead times. Lead times on a lot of these manufacturers was way out there. Like 20 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks. Lead times for Tiny House Basics was 9 weeks, and they exceeded that. So, and I don't mean exceeded it as in more. I meant they beat that number. They called me a couple weeks early and said, hey, your trailer's done. You can come and get it. I ordered the trailer at the beginning of the new year of 2022, in January 2022, and here we are about 8-9 weeks later. They had a little bit of a difficulty with some wiring and yeah, I think some labor issues were there as well. Parts were all there. They didn't have any trouble there, they said, but just some labor, some help putting these things together. Did slow them up just a little bit, but they still beat the 9-week turnaround time, which is great. So lead times was up there. I said customization, and then last was customer service. Let me tell you, I dealt only with Joshua over there. He and his wife owned the company. He was super, super helpful, super responsive. And look, let's be honest. I know that I was a pain in the ass because I had a bazillion questions. This is my first time doing this, so I had a lot of questions. They might have, just been routine for him, but this was my first time, and he treated me like a VIP. I really got to hand it to him. So, hats off to Joshua and that team over there.
This is some consideration as well. I'm going to say, just for theoretical purposes, that we will be sourcing the tiny house trailer from Canada. So taking into account where the manufacturers are located is actually a good piece of advice. The Canadian dollar is also not as strong as the American dollar, so I would be less partial to an American manufacturer just for that reason. It could end up netting out more expensive with the currency exchange. So other things to note. I see at the end of this video, I mean, I feel like I kind of got everything from this that I wanted to take away from it, but I do see at the end here that he seems to drive and go pick it up. So I'm curious, he mentioned he would talk more specifics about the actual like specs of his trailer when he was doing that. So let's see what he's saying.
Over to the manufacturing facility to pick up the trailer, inspect it, all that fun stuff. As you can tell in the windows, it's pretty foggy this morning. Quite chilly, about 28 degrees here in Ephrata. Ephrata, I don't know how you say it. I think that's right. Ephrata, Pennsylvania. But yeah, that's where we're heading. A little short drive, be there in just a minute. Grab this trailer and start heading back to Charlotte. All right, there it is. We're all hooked up. So let's just kind of quickly go over the trailer. This is 28 feet long, 8.5 feet wide. Cross members at 16 inches on center. And yes, we've got threaded rods at specific locations based off of my design already.
Oh, so he got some of it custom manufactured based on the plans that he gave them. The other thing that I'm seeing too in this tiny house trailer, one of their features that they are noting that they have on the trailer is that they have square fenders, which if you were around hanging out anytime during my van build series, building like boxing in the wheel wells or the fenders, having them at 90 degrees would make the construction process so much simpler. I see in this design here his don't have that, but if it does look like it's 90 degrees or flat on the front face here, so this is kind of negligible anyways, but that was interesting.
Brakes on all 3 axles, drop axle, we're at a 22-inch deck height. Everything's working.
Cool.
Yeah, it's quite foggy out here. I'm literally in the middle of Amish country out here, and these guys built a really nice trailer. The only thing that I'm missing that I thought I put on the order, maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, was the belly pan flashing that goes underneath all this. So that means I'm going to have to do it.
What is that though?
Which sucks.
What is that though?
We'll get it done.
Belly pan flashing? Is that what he said? Belly pan belly pan flash trailer. What is okay? No, now we're getting like the flash belly pan. What is that? What does a belly pan do? The belly pan fits below the engine, providing some degree of defense against dust and small debris. Okay, debris. How much is that necessary in a tiny house trailer? Is that something I'm seeing this only on motorcycles? But is it super necessary? I mean, he said he was going to add it. I mean, this is more just my own curiosity, I guess. I don't think we're going to actually factor any of this into our digital design whatsoever. It doesn't really matter. We'll just pull a trailer from SketchUp and go. But I like learning about these little practical things. I'm kind of curious too, when you build the tiny house itself, is the floor raised up? Or do you put the joists and kind of secure the sheathing? Because it is 16 inches off center, these horizontal supports, these metal supports. 16 inches off center is also the spacing of joists in your floor, in your house build as well. So maybe you can just sheath directly over this. I'm curious about if he's how's he securing it, or do you lay the other system directly on? I have so many questions.
And then we got the little 2-foot bump out on the front for our utility shed.
That's a smart idea. I like that a lot,
Yeah.
actually. I think that's a good
Let's get on
idea,
the road.
incorporating some kind of storage for like utilities or more practical things that you don't necessarily need in your house that you kind of keep out back. That's a really, really good idea. Especially potentially as well, if you were using like propane in the tiny house for any reason, you could kind of keep it more in this front area and not within the actual tiny house itself. There's a lot of uses for why you could do something like that. It might even be nice kind of having like a systems room, for example, if you were doing everything via solar, having this almost be like a utilities room, I guess, where the inverter and like all of the systems and batteries and stuff are all saved or stored here. Oh, he's done. Okay. That still kind of just left me with more questions than answers. I want to know how you build the tiny house. Why build a floor? Deck boards. How to build. Okay. How to build tiny house trailer floor. And the reason why I want to know this before we continue with anything else is because when we get to schematic design and we get to 3D modeling everything, I definitely want to make sure we have this taken into account. This is one of those things that we will have to design within the confines of, or the restrictions of. Did I? I want to find a good video, and I'm questioning how reputable some of these videos are. See, like, this is what I meant when I was asking if you put the floor system on top of the metal system that he has. Like, they've clearly just built this right on top of the flatbed, but I don't know. And this one also goes on top of the flatbed. This one is on top of the flatbed, but this one is recessed into the flatbed. And this is what I would do. I would do this for the height. I think what I'm seeing, and this one's on top as well. And this is literally, like, you can see this is following along the linear joist here. And this one as well. I'm not quite sure why they have so many like horizontal spacers like that. I like this the best though. I just want to know if we can design for that. Where's our tiny house trailer manufacturer? I wonder if they have any photos of the floor with it framed but not finished. But I'm not seeing it. Maybe it does have to sit on top. Even so in the video that, yeah, I want to go back to the image of his. So this one here is the whole trailer is just flush, one level flat at the top. Looking at the tiny house trailers here though, and you can kind of see in this ISO, this is not flush. The two linear supports that run down the whole length of the trailer sit higher than the horizontal supports in between. So flush or top of bottom frame. Okay, so you can pick if you want the frame to be flush or if you want it to be, maybe the perk of doing it this way is because you can recess it. Is that why? Can I get a facts page? Q&A? See, yeah, here, this is recessed down in this one. Does that mean that you can just like inset the floor framing so that it sits basically flush with where this goes? Heavy duty axles. Transport ready. Electric brakes with all of our trailers. What is a tiny house? I'm hoping if you're here, you know. Yeah, and so we have all of these photos of trailers, tiny houses built by their partners, but we don't have any photos of the progress. Maybe in the full gallery? In the full gallery, question mark? I want like a detail. I want someone to give me like a construction detail. That's like in my head how I think about these things. Oh, here's the anatomy. Tongue jack. Okay, tongue. Yeah, so the tongue is this part here at the front that leads to the hedge. Fenders, taillights, frame beams, tires and ribs. How do you attach a tiny house to a trailer? This is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted to know. Tell me.
Hi, this is Dan from Tiny Home Builders. In this video, I'm going to be installing a subfloor on top of one of our tiny house trailers. The first step is to install the metal underside flashing. The metal underside flashing protects the underside of the trailer, the insulation, as well as holds the insulation in place while it's being installed.
Oh my god, duh. I never thought about this, but how do you protect, like you can't just leave it as like exposed sheathing underneath. You need to like, in order for, okay. I didn't know that that existed.
And those we want to make sure we position such that it doesn't interfere, they don't interfere with the beams of the trailer. However, at the ends of the trailer, the beams run perpendicular to those ridges, so we need to cut away some little notches there so that they don't interfere, so that we can make sure that it lays flat. These pieces just go together by overlapping each other, so we just...
So I'm gonna say this will go on top then, and you will have to lose the height.
We're gonna be using XPS board, so this underside flashing is really important. However, if we were using spray foam, which is what we often use now, we would actually skip this step entirely, and that would leave the underside of the subfloor exposed, so that when we have the spray foam installed, they could just get underneath the trailer and spray it in there as well.
Okay, this is just based off of what I was told by one person in the industry once. However, I'd like to ask someone if they can verify this for me. I was actually informed by a very experienced person in the industry, though, that spray foam, especially in wood framing applications, is not good. And the reason for that is because when spray foam hardens and it's cured, I guess, it is rigid. However, wood in heat and cold expands and contracts. And so the problem with spray foam is that it does not move with the expansion and contraction of the wood as the temperature fluctuates, and it creates cold spots. So while I think this is okay in, say, a van build application, or if you are using metal construction, say like a container home, I have qualms with those too. We'll discuss those another day. But that would be an example of an application of spray foam that I think is fine. However, if we're talking about insulating the underside of this home, like for the floor here, I would not opt for spray foam insulation. In my understanding and how we've used spray foam in the past, especially in my industry, it gets utilized, or like it's saved only for really unique applications where, say, the framing is really angular and strange. You're not able to get into the cavity as well. It's hard to reach in there. It's a kind of like a small space that is irregularly shaped, and you can't just like stuff insulation. Like spray foam will go in and it'll just like expand. So I'm a little bit like, just knowing that when I hear people talking about the utilization of spray foam in applications like this, like the joists would expand and contract, and then you'd have like failure points along the ridges of the spray foam. That's my understanding about it. That is how I've come to understand it. If anybody else knows otherwise and can speak to speak to that and debunk that for me, I'd like to know, because I've been very anti-spray foam for that reason, and very hesitant about spray foam for that reason, and that in and of itself makes me a little bit nervous beyond, I guess, what else he's gonna say about how they're constructing their floors now. But let's keep watching.
We'd still have to
The underside flashing, I think, makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't want just exposed plywood underneath my trailer. I would not. So
protect it, and so in that case we would be using something called plastic core. Now that we've installed the underside flashing, it's time to install the wood subfloor. Now for the wood subfloor, we're going to use 2x4s, and we can get away with using a thinner lumber because we're relying on the support of the metal trailer. If this was going on a foundation, we would have to use a material that's much bigger than
yes,
2x4s.
Accurate.
We place each section on the trailer and we hold it in place with clamps temporarily. We make sure that we get it exactly where we want it, and also we make sure that it's perfectly square. We do that by measuring from each corner, each opposing corner, and making sure that the two measurements equal each other. Once we have the floor sections exactly where we want them, we can start to secure it to the trailer. Now I typically start with just a few bolts to make sure the section doesn't move, but then after all floor sections are put in place, I'll come back and install all the bolts.
So does he bolt it at every single joist? What does he mean by all the bolts?
When I'm making the holes, I'm starting with a paddle bit, and that makes a big enough hole that it can hide or recess the head of the bolt. I then use a 3/8 inch drill bit to drill through the remainder of the joist and also the metal flange of the trailer. I can then install the bolt with a washer on it, and I make sure the bolt protrudes through the bottom about 1 inch. That gives me enough distance or enough length to install another washer, a lock washer, and then the nut.
Okay, so it is every joist. But only on the ends. There's nothing centered along the joist?
Some bracing, and this is recommended anytime your subfloor overhangs or extends beyond the width of the trailer itself. Now, a lot of times we build our trailers to be the exact width of the framing of our subfloor, but in this case, the subfloor actually overhangs about 2 or 3 inches, and so we're adding the additional bracing.
Okay, so we do have the option to overhang.
Insulation.
Also,
like I said,
good to know.
In this case, we're using XPS boards. We'll typically use closed cell spray foam, which is installed by spraying it up underneath, but in this case, in smaller trailers, we do use the XPS boards. The first step is to cut that down to size so that it fits within the channels that we've created in our subfloor. Now, if you cut this to be the exact size of your channel, it's going to have a very hard time. You're going to have a very hard time fitting it into those channels. So what we will do is we will cut it about a 1/2 inch smaller in all dimensions for the channel that it's going to fit into. And that gives us, after it's centered, about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch all the way around it to insert spray foam that we can then spray in to make sure that it's an airtight seal. The last step is to install the subfloor sheathing. The subfloor sheathing is 3/4 inch tongue and groove plywood. We run that down the length of the trailer with the seam staggered every 4 feet. Before installing each sheet, we run a bead of liquid nails on all of the joists. We then position the board in place and attach it using 2-inch screws.
Okay. Is that the rest of the video? We're just watching him finish the sheathing? Okay, I'll have more questions, I guess, when it comes to attaching the walls. I wonder if this builder does does a wall video too, because I'm curious about if there's any kind of I'm curious if there's any kind of overhang. Designing a tiny house in SketchUp. Tips for working alone. Wall framing. Okay, I just want to look really quick on if he does 2 by.
But the actual walls themselves are a little bit different height. So the fundamentals are the same. We're going to show you how to make a header, which is a little bit different.
I know how to do that.
One thing that I do before I stand it up is I attach these little pieces of.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier I didn't know if we were going to use 2 by 4 or 2 by 6 framing. We can get into this conversation more when we get into schematic design, but the perk of doing 2 by 6 over 2 by 4, not only does it have a little bit more rigidity, but it allows for more insulation. So your walls have a higher, it's called an R value, which is like how well your walls or any of your envelope items, like your door or your windows, keep the temperature in, or like there's no air leaks, airtight seal, airtight, how airtight things are, and the insulative value that they have. So R value is the insulative value. And typically, from my understanding, the average conventional house, R value of a house, they kind of build stick frame houses in modern day kind of like shit. Unfortunately, it's my understanding is that the average house is quite low nowadays, in modern times especially, because we are starting to build things. Here we go. Our value of 18 to 20, I think, is what your house probably has as its R value. However, that's probably with having 6-inch studs around the perimeter. Probably my assumption. The perk though, oh yeah, recommended insulation R values. So here we go. Yeah, wood framed walls recommended, cold climate R value, especially in Canada, is an R value of 20, which is what you'll see, I guess that's why it tends to be, I guess, the minimum that you'll see builders aspire towards. However, the nice thing about having a higher R value, especially in colder climates, but you'll have these perks in warmth as well, is that you don't have to expend as much energy regulating the temperature of your house. So you don't have to use as much gas or as much solar if you're using that like electricity for heating. And so you'll often see with, I guess, more off-grid houses, passive houses that are built like to the passive house standard, for example, I believe have very high R values for their walls. The same thing with the windows you'll see as well. I think generally for windows, you'll see in conventional houses single or double pane windows, but in like passive house and like the real deal good, well-built off-grid homes will go as high as triple pane, which is quite expensive, but in the long term, you'll save on the costs of heating and cooling. So it kind of nets out. We have to look at, I guess it's called a life cycle cost analysis, where you'll look at the cost of your house, not just to build it, but to also operate it, live in it, how much utilities cost to function in it. And so, especially looking at, this is getting more into green building design, but we should be doing this by standard as well anyways. If you look at the entire life cycle cost analysis of a well-built green building or a well-built green home, it'll cost more up front, but the amount that you'd pay for utilities, heating, cooling, electricity, things like that is it's way less. So then it nets out. You'll see, I think the average return on investment for a well-built greenhouse is between 5 to 10 years, and then that's when you start to see where the cost savings net out. So that's a whole conversation, I guess. I'm definitely one of those people, if you're familiar with the like that marshmallow psychology test with children, And it's that psychology test where you sit a child in a room and you're like, hey, I'll give you 1 marshmallow now, or if you wait 10 minutes, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. And they'll study to see, I guess maybe it's a nature versus nurture thing, maybe it's a character thing, I'm not sure, but they'll study to see what the most prominent pick is for kids. And I'm definitely, I guess, more of the wait 10 minutes for 2 marshmallows type of person. I would rather spend more up front in order to save down the road later. You'll see this even with like how your clothes are manufactured and what clothing brands you're buying from. And that's why I like some brands, like I think Patagonia is a good example of a brand that has a very high upfront cost, but over the duration of it, it lasts for an incredibly long amount of time, and they have a lifetime repair warranty. So if you need it fixed, you can send it to them and they'll repair it or replace it for free. So to me, I'm like, okay, it's a bit more upfront, but I think it's worth the investment. And I think that's even more so, especially in your house. The funny thing about housing, though, is we don't typically have much say in how our homes are constructed, especially if we are buying a pre-built home that's already done by a builder. So generally, we don't hear this talked about much anyways. It's not unless you are building something custom, which is often not even really attainable from a cost perspective, unless you're doing something like a tiny house. And if it were me, if I were building my own tiny house, I would splurge on just some of these more technical things that maybe to someone less experienced or with less understanding in our values and thermal retention and energy systems and the like, it might not matter as much to them to save or to spend more there. They'd rather splurge on the granite countertops or something like that. I'm more of I'd rather splurge on the nice high-end systems. So that's just, I guess, a personal preference kind of thing. But that is where I am curious. I think when we get to the schematic design phase of this tiny house and we're looking at the layouts and stuff like that, I will probably opt to do I kind of want to do a 6-inch thick wall. Just given if we're designing for Canada. But we'll see how that nets out. We'll see how that nets out. And it might make more sense to scale back and do 2x4s here. Oh, see, okay. I can see from this video also that he's building it. So it's 2x4 studs, and this to me looks like it's 2 feet off center instead of 1.5 feet on center, which is also standard for rigidity. And maybe this is a weight saving thing. Maybe it's a weight saving thing. He might talk about this in his wall framing when he breaks it down and stuff. But that kind of makes me a little bit nervous too. Things to think about, especially if we're adding a second story in a loft, right? But if we did the 2x6, which is actually 2 feet by 5.5 inches, it's not actually 6 inches, it's a little bit less, but then maybe we could opt to do the 24 inches off center, and I would feel a little bit more comfortable about that. Perhaps. But, okay, so that gives us our answer. We will design the tiny house. And then after the schematic design phase, when we have a floor plan and we figured out everything that we need and we want incorporated, then we will add or like hunt down for the trailer spec and figure out the trailer that we'll put in it. The nice thing too is in Revit, this is why I love 3D modeling things in advance, I can set up a parameter that will change the height of the tiny house from the grade level or the ground, depending on which height of trailer we want. I can set up a parameter so that we can make that whatever we want. So this is why I like 3D modeling. This is why it's nice to do in advance, because if we were building this and weren't able to change that parameter, it might change some things. But I'm thinking I'm thinking, I've been live for 2 hours now. The last couple streams I've done have been quite long. On Fridays, I've gone, I think, 6 to 7 hours. I don't really want to do that today. I'm sorry. I do have plans this evening. So now we have our trailer answered. I think in regards to the whole pre-design phase then, that means that we don't really have one and we don't really need to do one. We can just dive straight into schematic design. I don't want to start that today because I'd like to make that the focal point of a whole stream from start to finish. This is kind of being a good launch day where we kind of just get some understanding of the basics of things. I went over the design phases that will follow again. So I have a couple house tours lined up. Maybe we'll just do some house tour react content for maybe the next hour or so, and then call it from there. If that's cool with everyone. I'm gonna change. I rewatched the VOD where we hung out and I did my permit drawings and we just watched House Hunters, and I really want to do just like a House Hunter binge where we watch a few in a row, because I would have had so much more to say if I wasn't also 3D modeling and like doing permit drawings at the same time. I was watching it after the fact and I was like, oh my god, I kind of just missed this thing. This guy was terrible. So we'll do that at some point too, but I know in my watch list here, I know I saved a couple tours that I really wanted to go over. This first one, actually, let's do this one next. This one's 30 minutes long. This might even take us right till the end of the hour, but I found YouTube recommended me this $25 million ultra mega mansion, but it's off grid. And so I'm so morally opposed to McMansions. Like, even in this thumbnail here, like, this thing looks way too large. But I tend to be a little bit more lenient or make some exceptions if it's designed with green building strategies and the environment is taken into account. So I'm kind of curious. I'm like, this to me in my head is kind of an oxymoron. Like, it's kind of conflicting itself. It's kind of contradictory, right? So I could send it on this $25 million off-grid mega mansion. The other one I was curious about is this Malaysia's smallest house. It's like a romantic villa in Malaysia, and it's a tiny garden home. And that one could be interesting too, given the theme of the series that we're moving into with tiny homes. But we could also save the tiny garden home tour for next time, when we will actually watch some more tiny house tours for schematic design inspiration. Maybe we send it on the $25 million off-grid home. I think I want to send it on that one, if that's cool. Interject now if you have any opinions, but I think we'll do this one. And this one, like, I'm not familiar with this channel. I don't know if this is a realtor, perhaps. You see it a lot, like high-end realtors making like big video tours of their mega mansions to try and sell them. So I'm curious if it's for sale. Maybe that's what it is. But let's send it. I'm curious. Let's see.
What's up everybody, it's Enes here and welcome to Woodland, Utah. Today we're checking out the stunning estate right behind me that was designed from ground up to be this totally off-grid property. It can produce its own water, own electricity, and the house features 6 bedrooms, 6 full baths, 1 half bath, 12,377 square feet of interior space, built on a 49.11 acre lot, and it is currently on the market for $25.9 million. As always, we will leave more information about this listing in the description of this video, so make sure to check that out.
Okay, so it is for
And I
sale.
want to give big thanks to the listing agents, Thomas Wright and Carrie Ullman, for allowing us to tour their amazing listing and share it with all of you. And now, let's begin our tour.
Please let me know if the volume's okay. It's quite loud for me, but oh my god, it's got a helicopter pad. Oh. It's got so much glass too. It's like if you combined a log cabin with like a old European style barn. That's the vibe that I'm getting, especially from the foyer shot. This is so big. It's got 2 islands. Okay.
We're gonna start our tour on the exterior. Again, we're here in Woodland, Utah, and the scenery around us is simply stunning. We have all these mountains, valleys, beautiful green landscaping. It's lush, it's peaceful, it's quiet up here, and we have this private driveway bringing us from the gates all the way to the main estate. Your asphalt driveway eventually transitions into this paved driveway that goes to your motor court. On the left-hand side, it goes underneath the home where we have the lower level garage. But before I talk about the main estate, I actually want to bring everybody here. So on our right-hand side, we have a helicopter pad. If you own a property like this, there's a good chance
Do you
might
know
have your
how
own private
much
jet or even your own private
Do you know how
helicopter.
much fuel
And that's why having
a
helipad
helicopter
like this
uses?
comes in really handy. Right next to that, we have the solar arrays, which consists of 8 massive solar panels that essentially powers this incredible estate. This home uses solar energy as its primary electricity source. If solar is not enough, then it uses the main grid that comes from the city. And if that's not available, you have a propane generator that can power this entire property. It's super cool. Like I mentioned,
Why
at the
no
beginning of this
geothermal,
video,
though?
This home was designed from ground up to be this totally off-grid estate. Again, we have the driveway going down to the lower level garage.
How often
And
does
on
it
our
have to
right-hand
tap into
side,
the
we have
main
detached guest home.
into the main electrical
It has
grid?
the same architectural details, just like the main estate. We have an oversized deck on the 2nd floor where you can really enjoy these views. And we have 2 garage doors on this side and 2 garage doors on the back. That way you can pull in or pull out from each direction. And this garage door right here opens up to your water filtration system, because this home comes with 2 water wells. And inside of the garage, you have a state-of-the-art water filtration system with a 1,000-gallon water holding tank, so you can produce your own water without being dependent on any other water sources. Super cool. You'll also have 50 security cameras all around.
So this to me reads less like multi-millionaire cares about the environment, and this feels more to me like multi-millionaire is kind of a low-key prepper and is only off-grid because he doesn't want to have to rely on anybody else if anything, like if everything goes to shit. That's what this motive feels more like than anything else.
The 360 view, so you have no blind corners. I mean, it's a pretty incredible property. And again, we have the detached guest home here. 2nd floor is an entertainment space. And although this is a detached guest home, it is actually connected to the main house through a really unique way.
A tunnel.
And we're gonna see that
It's a
later
tunnel.
in the video. Now,
it's connected
let's
through
come
a
back to
tunnel.
the motor court so we can focus on the main estate. Beautiful modern cabin home. It was newly constructed. And the
It actually, okay, this looks a lot like it looks a lot like the resorts that you would see in like mountain towns like Banff or Canmore or something like that. It's very reminiscent of that. I will say, as far as McMansions go, I don't mind the exterior for that reason. That might just be a personal bias towards like mountain style architecture. I'm kind of a mountain baby, so I do like it. I just don't like how large it is. This would be a good like hotel design, Airbnb or bed and breakfast.
section on the right-hand side was actually the original cabin that was situated on this property.
Oh.
The developer here remodeled that entire cabin, and they built this extension, which is the center part and the left-hand side, following the design guidelines of the original cabin, which is super cool.
That is
And I
kind of
think
cool.
They did a phenomenal job blending.
I do
the
really
design and
appreciate
architectural
when
elements
builders
of this
will
estate and
preserve
making it
history
uniform.
and then kind of
Of
add
course,
to
we have
it, but adding to it in such a way that like really pays homage to the history rather than kind of like squashing it or detracting from it. So I appreciate that they did take that into account. That's really nice.
Stone on the exterior as well, complementing these logs and all the wood that was used in this house with the exterior structure or the walls was actually sourced through the canyons and mountains around us, which is pretty awesome.
Sourced sustainably? Question mark? Or
a lot of windows to really take advantage of the views around
or
us. You have few outdoor decks on the second floor as well as the backyard. And here we are underneath the covered entry. This driveway and the walkway
it's giving resort entrance.
is all heated.
This is where the lobby is. You pull up to check in here.
Let's go inside.
Also, I don't know why, you'll see when he walks through the door, I've noticed this in any of the McMansion tours, they tend to make these front doors like 4 feet wide or like 4.5 feet wide. I don't understand the like really extra large door trend. Look at it, it's so big. For what reason?
Welcomes you into this amazing space.
This is what I mean when I say it's giving like historic European barn.
Skylights bringing natural light. All these windows on each side, and right in front of me we have walls of glass facing the incredible views.
It is very pretty though. I do think that this type of design would feel a lot more timeless. This isn't like the utilization of the natural materials, the natural finishes and stuff. I think in any of the, I guess, trendy aspects of it, like the furniture or the light fixtures and stuff, will be easily swapped. So I do think in terms of longevity, this is a really like I like the feel. I like the feel.
It has the same stack stone that we saw on the exterior. That way design looks a little bit more uniform.
It does still kind of feel like hotel lobby though. Still, but
exposed beams and roof rafters.
But
Really
that's
tying
pretty.
that cabin feel.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really hitting cabin. It's still like I've been in mountain resort lobbies that look exactly like this.
And on the floors, we have white oak hardwood floors installed in this herringbone pattern that looks great.
Pretty.
And off of the entry, we have seating sections on each side. And
See,
right in the
it's
center
giving
of this
lobby.
room, we have
Hotel
a dining
lobby.
area. Table for 8, chandelier above.
Wow.
Ton of natural light coming in. And this table actually folds. That way you can open it up, expand it, and sit up to 16 people here.
Okay.
Super cool. And
Okay.
What an amazing home.
Yeah, I've always loved a log cabin, and I've always loved, a good forest. Every time we go to Colorado, Utah, anything like that, I never want to leave. So I feel the same about this property.
Yeah, scenery here is amazing. I mean, look at our views. It's just
Wow.
outstanding. And this home is super cool, newly constructed, but has that old cabin feel. Ton of character. I'm really excited for this tour. All right, let's continue. We have the family room right in front of us. Massive
Wow.
leather sectional couch that looks so comfortable, so cozy. Coffee table in the center. Of course, you have your stone fireplace here that goes all the way to the ceiling. You have your mounted TV.
So when I ask the question though, I'm going to pause it for a sec. There's a lot of windows in this space. There's tons. I would like to reiterate my question of how often would they have to tap into the like municipal or like local jurisdiction's electrical grid system rather than just utilizing entirely solar, because in going back to our conversation about R values and thermal retention and stuff like that, windows are some of the biggest weak points. In order to avoid that, it would require triple pane windows. I would like at least, and from what I see, this looks like it's probably double. I might be wrong. Maybe he'll speak to that. But I'm disappointed that they don't have another integrated off-grid like not like renewable energy system, because for a house that's $25 million, I would have at least expected a geothermal system integrated as well. And I think that in combination with the solar panels would have made it a lot more likely to remain off-grid. I'm skeptical about how off-grid this house actually is.
TV here and walls of glass facing these incredible views.
This is stunning
Right in
though.
front of us,
I
we
love
have
this
Uinta
fireplace.
National Forest, which is over 2 million acres, which means this view will never change. It looks incredible. I mean, it's so beautiful out here. This is just amazing.
Yeah, not to mention the view will never change, but also you have this massive 2 million acre playground if you want to go snowmobiling, hiking, camping. There's a famous fly fishing river, the Provo River, that runs near here. There's a lot of outdoor activities around here, so if that's what you're into, this is kind
I also believe that's a gas fireplace, not a log fireplace. You can tell by how the logs are.
And I love the volume here, details, architectural lines.
Which makes sense. I don't know if anybody's actually chopping wood if they own a $25 million house.
Right-hand side, we have the wing going to the primary bedroom that we're going to tour later in the video. And coming here, we have this opening taking us to the first part of the kitchen. I say first part because kitchen is divided into 2 sections.
Why?
We have the first island here,
Why?
a little bit raised with the leg design, which makes the space feel a little bit more open. I like the countertops. This is actually dolomite stone, which is between a marble and a quartzite countertop. Looks great. 4 picture windows facing the views, wood clad ceilings, and we have the first section of the base cabinets here. Ice maker, 2 fridges, pop-up plugs, and we love these.
So this is probably more like the entertaining bar.
Almost serves as your first dining area because you have the bar seating. And continuing this way, we have the main section of the kitchen.
It's just so much kitchen. You don't.
Farmhouse sink, 2 dishwashers, and I gotta talk about this Waterworks faucet.
Okay, the two dishwashers is also something that I see in large scale home designs. Okay. This to me is a classic example of having way more space than you actually need, and therefore in order to fill the space you start adding elements of it that are entirely unnecessary. Entirely unnecessary. There is a fully functional kitchen 5 feet away from this second kitchen. I don't really buy this whole, oh, it's just the kitchen split in 2 parts, they're the same space feel. I think they literally, it's so exuberantly large and unnecessary. And if you look, even the length of it is so long. There is so much cabinet space at the base here. Realistically, how much stuff do you have that's actually going to fit in here? What goes into these drawers? Beyond, like, there's this kitchen over here is plenty large enough. This is just massive. This is one of those things that I'm not a fan of. I really, really hate. I'm not opposed to a wet bar. I think a wet bar has a time and a place, and it's really, like, it can be a nice addition when it's done well. I don't think, I don't like it when it's literally 10 feet or 1 room over from the actual functioning kitchen. This kind of design really annoys me.
Fridges, pop-up plugs, and we love these. It's a great space. Almost serves as your first dining area because you have an island in the center, farmhouse sink, 2 dishwashers.
It is kind of interesting to, like, I almost would have liked to have seen almost like a switch up. I think I would have rather have had my main kitchen be this first area with all of the natural light at the back here. This feels a lot brighter and lighter and a nicer place to be in. Just maybe it's just based off of the lighting from the video that they're taking, but this on this side here just feels a lot more kind of confined and restricted, which is actually a bit of a jarring contrast in my opinion compared to the first 2 rooms that we toured in this space that were very open and bright in comparison. Again, I think like maybe the intent is to go for more of a cozier log cabin feel, but I think if it were me, I would have preferred to see these 2 designs switched. I do really like this breakfast nook in here, however, though. I think that, like, if it were just this kitchen on its own without this middle piece and you just bumped the whole thing down, I do actually think that the kitchen is a very reasonable size for a $25 million house. I do really like, though, the natural wood beams on the ceiling and the wood stone like around. This might look like it's a pizza oven or something. We'll see what he says.
Of the kitchen.
Also, I love farmhouse style sinks. I think that it's really pretty. I just don't know why in what earth you would ever need 2 dishwashers.
Nope. Island in the center, farmhouse sink, 2 dishwashers, and I gotta talk about this Waterworks faucet.
What about it?
It looks awesome. It looks like a piece of equipment that came out of a submarine with the handles and valves, and this is awesome.
Yeah, it's very steampunk almost.
Steampunk.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
I
Beautiful
could take or leave it. I'm not like, I don't really have an
center.
opinion on the
And coming
sink
this way, we
design.
have this section that was built out of brick.
Okay, so it's not a
also
pizza
lime
oven.
washed,
It's just
which
like
is really
a...
rustic. And in the center of that, we have a Blue Star 8-burner gas stove with brass details. This section looks great.
I do
And
actually love that,
continuing our
though. I would
tour,
love
we
to have a
more base
stove like that.
cabinets
Oh my
here,
God.
espresso maker, microwave, warming drawer, your panel
Okay.
fridge.
See, everything that's here in this kitchen, just within this space without the first side, I really like. I like having this like little separate espresso bar. I like how much shelving and cabinets there are. I do think that the color is very beautiful. I love the natural rock at the back here. Even the china cabinet here with the like plates and bowl storage and stuff like that. Like this is enough. This is enough. You don't need the first half.
Fridge and your freezers down below. And we have this beautiful cabinetry here and this butcher block detail at the end of the island.
Oh, so that could be your cutting board.
That reminds me, I want to give big credit to Bond Design Company who handled the remodel and the design elements on the interior. I think they did a phenomenal job with this house. Now, that's it for this section of the kitchen.
Okay.
Coming here, we have the informal dining
That's kind of
area.
a cool table.
Super cozy. Table in the center.
The only problem I'd have
built-in
with this
seating,
table is it
windows
looks
looking
super
out the
cool, but I
views,
feel like you would be
and
like your
something
feet
about
would
this
be knocking
block,
the base. It doesn't really have as much
it's
foot
so
room at the
unique. Like,
base,
can we get a close up?
but it's a pretty table.
All the wood that was used to build these exterior walls and the structure was sourced out of the canyons and mountains around us. They
Sustainably?
basically stacked these logs
Question mark?
on top of each other, used massive
He's not
screws
saying it.
to join them. And they also used the sealant to cover the gaps in between. And that's how you accomplish a waterproof wall. Maintained well, these walls and this structure will last forever, and it is super strong and just a really unique way of building a home.
Yeah, it's really warm, really cozy, and it just has that mountain look, you know?
Absolutely. I love the imperfections that comes with this style of building.
Oh. Interesting. Oh, we'll skip. There we go.
And coming here, we are actually in the living room area of the main cabin that was
That antler
originally
chandler's
here.
cool. It's still giving mountain resort to me though. Like I don't feel like this doesn't feel like it would be a comfortable house to live in. I feel like it should be purchased by a hotel chain. That's still what it gives to me. Especially with this like circular nook with all the chairs facing one another and stuff like that. This feels like
Stored it beautifully and blended with the new home. And you have a nice seating area in the center.
This was the old cabin
Fireplace
side
on
though,
our
I think
right-hand
he
side,
said.
covered with the same stack stone that we've been seeing throughout. And look at all
But
the
I love
woodworking
the stone. The
details here.
stone is beautiful.
This space is phenomenal. The railings, the columns.
I wonder
the
if
beams,
the wood
skylights above.
ages over
This is
time
such
and
a cool
creates more of a
space.
rustic feel, because it
And
does
on our
feel very
right-hand side, we have the
polished.
French doors opening up to the backyard, so you have an easy access. Another wood burning fireplace. And over here, we have an exterior door that was the original front door
Okay.
of the old cabin. It's a Dutch door. Mikey, I know you like these.
Yeah, so for those who have seen our earlier episodes, I love Dutch doors, they're called?
Dutch doors.
Dutch doors.
Where the top
we don't
opens
see
but
them
the
in
bottom
top section.
stays.
Yeah, basically, if you don't know, they break into two pieces. You can open the top and bottom independently, but we don't see them enough. But I think they're really cool.
Absolutely. And we
I kind of like them too, but they don't really work in Canada where we have
winter
winter for so
then
often.
We'll go upstairs.
Also,
and
we couldn't
the
have one in our
primary
house because we
bedroom
have
suite for
cats.
this
My cat would
old
just
cabin.
like.
Now, let's start with the bedroom on our left-hand side. Super cozy.
Moderately
They left
sized.
log walls exposed,
Okay.
which gives you this, again, rustic cabin feel. Window facing the front of the home. Wood glass ceilings.
It was 6 bedrooms,
closet,
this house,
and I
right?
want to point out another detail. We have a lot of split AC
One of the
units.
houses I rented before we bought this one was a 6-bedroom home, and it was, I'd say, almost 3,000 square feet, which is like less than half of the size of this one. And I still felt like that was large, and there was 6 of us that lived there.
Throughout this property, because when you build your exterior walls out of logs, you actually don't have any space or attic space to run AC lines or AC
No.
ducts. That's why split units comes really handy.
Wait,
And on
sorry,
top
what
of
did he
that,
say? Oh,
since it's such
the-
a big
okay.
estate, it's really nice that you can control the temperature however you like in each one of the rooms.
Y'all, this bathroom
Now,
is as
we
big
have a
as that
full-size
fucking
bathroom
bedroom.
here, shared by these 2 bedrooms that we're about to tour. We toured the first one, and it's just a gorgeous bathroom. You have
I love the wood
reclaimed
though. This wood
cabinetry
is
for the
like, I love this wood. I love it. It's so
vanity,
pretty.
quartzite countertops, stone back wall, your walk-in shower, beautiful mosaic tiles.
I'm surprised it's not a double vanity.
Freestanding tub. And I mean, just look at all these details and finishes. Your tub filler, all these cozy small windows facing the front.
I will say too, every resort that I've stayed at with a clawfoot tub in the mountains, you can never fill the tub with enough hot water. It gets too cold.
Redesigned it. But I can tell they did quite a bit to it.
Absolutely. I'm sure it looks quite different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. This door opens up to the second bedroom we have on this wing. Pretty
Also
similar
moderately
to the one
sized.
we toured earlier. Exposed log walls in the back. Cozy bed setup. Your closet.
These are like the
everything you need.
cheapest
Now,
rooms that you
let's
can
take
purchase when
everybody
you
back
decide
the
you
living
want
room
to
area.
rent and stay at this resort for a
Another detail I wanna
weekend.
point out,
You
we
get
have
one of
this
these two rooms.
rustic cart here because Utah has a really
Also, I
interesting
hate that.
mining history. And throughout the home, they really brought that historic element with a lot of these design finishes. In fact, one of
I
them
don't
is
know if we
super,
need to
super unique
celebrate the
that
coal
we're gonna
industry,
tour
but
on the
that's
lower
okay.
level.
We'll just say, remember this mining cart for now. That'll come back later in the tour.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And now, Mikey, why don't we go upstairs so we can check out this loft space that is open. We're closer to the vaulted beam ceilings, and look at all the textures and details and color variations. You have a small game table here, window facing the front, another small seating area.
Man,
and
it'd
we
be
have
so
an
expensive to
exterior door
furnish
opening up
this
to a
place.
deck, that way you have an easy access to the outdoors on the second floor and just enjoy the amazing views that you have. Pretty
It
much
is a beautiful
throughout.
view, though.
Now,
I'm
coming
jealous.
Here, I want to talk about the railing system that they have on the second floor. This is so cool.
Okay.
They use these center posts, which are these tree trunks that was cut and sanded and placed here to anchor the railing. I mean, how cool is this?
Yeah, that one's really cool. You can actually see it way clearer in this one over here.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can see the whole root system of the tree. Really interesting. This is like our 4th or 5th log cabin to ever tour on the channel. I don't think we've ever seen one of these.
Absolutely. This is so unique. And this log cabin was actually built by the previous owner, and he hand built this entire structure. And that's one of the reasons why the developers here wanted to keep it, just remodel it and blend it with the new extension.
Like I said, I'm
Looks
so glad
super
they
cool.
did that. I
look at these
appreciate
original
that.
floors. I can keep going. I really like this part of the home. Now, let's
pretty.
continue. Oh, one more detail. I almost forgot. Look at this hand-carved eagle here. That looks so cool, the attention to detail. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Look at his talons. He has this little fish that he's caught here. It's incredible.
Just amazing. Skylights above. Pretty awesome. Now let's continue. This used to be the primary bedroom suite for the old cabin. Super, super cozy. I love how close we are to the roof line and these beams. We have a
I
king-size
love
bed
the
here.
roof. I think
Door
that's
on my right-hand side
stunning.
opens up to a small deck dedicated for the primary bedroom suite here. Cozy
Yes, this
seating
is
area,
like
windows
the
look out the views.
secondary suite
Really
size
cool
when you are
light
renting at
fixture
this resort.
above,
You get
recessed
this suite.
lights, all that good stuff. You have the fireplace here, and continuing our tour, this is the walk-in closet, and we have this barn door opening up to the bathroom. Reclaimed wood cabinetry.
There's our double
Looks
vanities.
So authentic and charming. We have corset countertops, concrete sinks.
I really
brass
like the
fixtures,
herringbone
mosaic back
tiling
wall,
along the
and
back
coming
too,
here,
with
we
the
have the
like
water
with the
closet.
gold. It's really, really pretty. Oh, and this floor. Oh my God, guys! I've been looking at pricing how to do like a pebble floor like this in our bathroom because it's such a small square footage. It's like our bathroom's so tiny. It's like 5 feet by 8 feet or something like that, but like part of that is taken up by the vanity in the tub, and I love this pebble flooring. I've been trying for our bathroom renovation in my head, brainstorming how to make it timeless so that when we eventually sell the house, like it's kind of like it's tastefully designed, but it's not overly trendy, so that when we do sell, I don't want to run the risk of making any design choices that are dated by the time we sell our house. And we are intending to sell and find something more permanent, I'd say in the next like 2 to 3 years or less. So it's definitely a lot of our design choices you'll see when I get to those next design series aren't actually really necessarily for us and our own preferences.
On our right,
But
concrete freestanding tub that they had to forklift here.
oh my
because
God.
it's super heavy, but it really complements
It's pretty
the space
though.
and really takes advantage
It
of
is
this
really pretty.
cozy window that we have here. skylight above.
See, this is kind of like if we're gonna go big for things, like big and kind of extra for the size of a bathroom or something. Like I like this more than just like the giant box rooms, giant square rooms.
And the door on our left opens up to a powder room. Beautiful mosaic tiles on the floors. Wallpaper.
What is? Oh, it's wallpaper. Oh, it's pretty. I like it. I like the wood, especially with the wood on the ceiling. I like this a lot too, and the contrast between like the wood and the like black hardware. I think this is really pretty.
Limestone sink, waterworks fixtures, beautiful powder room.
Very pretty.
Right next to your family room. Now, coming here, we have the hallway taking us to the mud room and the laundry room. We have a door opening up to the outside. That way you have an easy
See, it's a
to
resort. That's why they need so many washers and dryers and so many cabinets. Oh my god, it's so big.
Drawers, stone floors that are heated.
What do you fit here?
And on the other side, we have the laundry room, 2 washers, 2 dryers, ton of cabinetry.
Actually,
and this
insane.
room also works as your pantry space because we have a built-in fridge and freezer here.
Oh.
All this cabinetry, same stone floors.
Because your second kitchen beside your first kitchen wasn't enough for fridge and food storage. You need more of it. But they have the pebble flooring down here too. Oh, I love it.
Sink,
this is also really pretty cabinet color, this like blue.
Beautiful laundry room.
I love it.
Now, let's continue our tour.
And this is pretty
we have
too.
The last door opening up to the primary bedroom suite.
It's fair to say that the most...
Yeah, see, this is, again, just another example of, like, adding stuff because you need space. I don't know in what world you need 2 washers and 2 dryers unless you're running a resort. This is a resort. This is a bed and breakfast. You can't tell me otherwise.
And on our right-hand side, we have the staircase taking us to the 2nd floor loft that we're going to tour later. As we walk into the space, I'm just blown away by the ceiling heights, exposed beams and columns, and just so much character in this.
Okay. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this wall. I assume it's probably walling off like a bathroom suite, I think. But I think that just, especially when you're looking at it from this angle and you get this really beautiful view of like the ceiling and the continuous beam joists, and this wall here just feels so like it just is invasive almost. I don't like how it feels. Like you can tell that this feels almost like an afterthought to me, especially given like the line of the fireplace with the TV on top. I don't know if the bed aligns with it. Maybe it does, and maybe there's enough space on this right side of him and it's just the angle that we're looking at. But even looking at where this chandelier hangs to in relation to it, it feels like an afterthought. It feels kind of jarring, like irregular. Like I feel like this room with the windows, when you walk into it, I would expect to see something beautiful and expansive and like open and letting light in from 3 sides. And then here is this very jarring gray, it's almost giving concrete wall in the way. I also can say too, from a primary bedroom perspective, I would not want this to be my primary bedroom. I have stayed, like I've lived in a house with vaulted ceilings before, and I find that like, I think it would feel very exposing almost how wide this is, especially when you look at it from the other perspective and there's this loft above you that kind of looks down at you. I think from like a psychological perspective, especially with the orientation of my bed, this is me personally, I feel more comfortable having my bed or my sleeping space in a way that is almost kind of like tucked and not, and like cozy, not so like so the original primary suite is much more desirable to me in comparison to this one.
Almost hard to explain. It's just everywhere you look you see different textures, colors, palettes, and you have your king size bed here.
Oh, I hate that wall. It's like it's just like such a
and you
afterthought. Look at this. I don't like this at all. Okay, so this chandelier does hang over the bed, but this is just, and the fact that it doesn't tie into anything, it's literally just like a single wall that's like juts out. Like if there was a way that it like something carried upwards, or like it feels like such an afterthought. I don't like it.
Size bed here.
I don't
kind of an
like
open
it.
concept primary bedroom suite. Beautiful
No.
hardwood floors. You have sliding
No.
glass doors opening up to the backyard. Accordion doors on this side opening up to the
Finishes
side
stunning.
of the property.
Love
and we're
the
actually located
curtains.
right above
Beautiful
the garage.
natural
That's located on the
textures.
lower level, so it's kind of
Stupid
facing
wall.
the side of the home. Super private. You have the forest right in front of you and just this incredible scenic view. It's amazing.
Yeah, so relaxing here, so peaceful. The camera really doesn't convey just how peaceful it is here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, king size bed. This wallpaper on the back is actually wood veneer, which is really unique. I don't think we've ever seen this detail before.
It's
Of
gray
course,
though.
Your bedroom is complemented with a wood burning fireplace, TV above, and your bathroom starts right here. Copper freestanding tub facing the views. I mean, look at that Waterworks tub filler. Waterworks designs these gorgeous fixtures. I mean, whether
They're
it's
sponsored
faucets,
by this
tub
faucet
fillers,
company,
shower
right? That's
handles,
why he's
everything.
peddling them so
Everything they do
hard.
is stunning. Now, on our right-hand side, we have the walk-in shower. Marble
That's
clad all
beautiful.
around. You have marble mosaic tiles on the floors, as well as the ceiling. And look at all the fixtures. Mikey, can we get a close-up? This bathroom, this walk-in shower.
That is beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous. Your handheld, your shower
I
head,
just
your
think they
rain
could
head,
have done
your
something
body
better than
space,
that wall. I
steam
love
detail,
this. Oh
and,
my God, this like
you have a
marble
built-in
finish though
bench.
is really beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous, so timeless. And on the other side,
Very
we
stunning.
have the double vanity, copper sinks, again, Waterworks faucets. And
Okay, this is actually tragic to me. They erected this terrible wall that does not flow with the space and it feels very invasive, and I believe it was done so that they could accommodate for the expanse of this vanity, which is exuberantly large and has way more storage in it than any two people would ever need in their vanities. I feel like there should have been or could have been better options that would have been done, because even at first I was like, oh, maybe they're very restricted on what they can do with the bathroom orientation behind the wall, and that's why it is there the way that it is. But you can see they've recessed the shower. I assume this is a toilet room behind him, so that's closed off there too. I would have almost, well, okay, let's see where it goes.
vanity, copper sinks, again, Waterworks faucets, and you have your polished chrome mirrors, wall sconces, marble back wall, inset cabinetry. It's a nice open bathroom design. And on the back, we have the walk-in closet. It's definitely good size, but it's not the biggest closet. And if you want to add more space, you can definitely utilize the second floor loft. In fact, let's go check that out.
Okay. I would have liked to have seen them utilize more of like an L shape, like done something with the vanity back here or something, and then figured out something else for the closet solution. This to me just seems tragic. This is like, this is bad. This is bad. They could have done anything else, I think, and like just something more intentional than this huge jarring wall with this exuberantly extra vanity space. I think it's
Have your polished chrome
I think it's so
mirrors,
bad.
wall
It's bad.
sconces,
It's bad. It's
marble
bad.
back
It's very
wall,
bad. I don't like it.
inset
Nope.
cabinetry,
Moving on.
Closet. It's definitely good size, but it's not the biggest closet. If you want to
See, and that even that closet design is bad. So I think like they should have done something else. They could have done something
add
else.
more space, you can definitely utilize the second floor loft. In fact, let's go check that out next. This space is super cool. Currently staged as a seating area and the office. We have all these windows looking outside. You have different view corridors everywhere you look, closer to the roof line, textures, details, exposed beams. It's an awesome space, and like I mentioned earlier, you can easily close this off, make it a secondary walk-in closet. Now,
If you have to modify a $25 million mansion in order to make it fit your needs for your walk-in closet or whatever, like this design's wrong. This is bad. I think they could have done anything more tasteful. I think what I would have maybe have liked to have seen is taking this seating space and whatever the heck they put up here, putting it down on the main floor, doing the bedroom like bed situation up on this loft here so that you can like you're less exposed, you're less open, it's a lot cozier. Secondary walk, I know. No, yeah, it's just I don't know what they're doing here with this.
this space comes with two outdoor terraces. First one is right here. located right next to the
And
great
sorry, do you
room
mean
off of
like
the entry.
how he's saying like put the secondary walk-in closet on the upstairs, but then have that open out to the balcony? That's such a waste of space. Like why? And then you'd have to walk upstairs whenever you want clothes. I don't know. I have so many thoughts and opinions about this. This is just, and it's weird to me because this side of the house is the brand new construction. So someone messed up here because they don't even have the excuse of them trying to retrofit the original cabin, which was on the other side of the building. So someone got to do this from scratch. I don't know.
This way we have this bridge taking us to another outdoor terrace facing the backyard. In fact, let's go have a look. I mean, look at these views. This place is so gorgeous, so naturally beautiful. We have a private pond. Look at it on the lower level.
That's like, yeah, story of this whole tour is just not knowing how to fill this space.
Breathtaking views, just outstanding. This place is just awesome. And that
the scenery is stunning. They did do really well with the finishes. It's just, yeah, it's the organization of everything just feels so off. And like even on that second story that he did show in, like if you think about it from a practical perspective, if this was your house and that was your bedroom, how often would you actually go upstairs and just use it as a seating area, especially when you have more like communal spaces in the house? Like near the kitchen, there's a seating area or like an actual living room with the large TV out there. Like I can't help but feel like this upstairs loft in the primary bedroom would just go entirely unused. You'd have no reason to go in there. And because it's a primary bedroom, that's not typically a space that you invite company into. That's typically something that's a little bit more private and shared between yourself and maybe a partner. So it could potentially be like an office situation or like a work from home setup or something like that, maybe, but it's still strange.
We wanted to start our tour here on the backyard. On my right hand side we have the primary bedroom suite. Sliding glass doors open up to this wraparound deck, and behind me we have a staircase going down to the lower level garage. That way you have an easy access to your backyard. House from this angle looks amazing. You have your deck on the second floor, exposed columns, and even the decking is solid wood rather than some sort of a composite material. It just looks very heavy duty.
I do like that more.
Now,
I'm more in favor of natural building materials rather than like composite or plastic, like petroleum-based materials. I know there's a durability to petroleum-based products, but again, just from like an environmentalist perspective. Yes, lovely B&B. Yeah, I don't know if you caught the beginning of this tour, lip balm please, but I was going off about how this gives mountain resort more than it gives cozy mountain dwelling. Yeah, it's definitely more resort vibes here.
Absolutely. And I want to mention one more thing. This home is about 95% complete. Meaning
wait, what?
They're still tying some of the details, landscaping, and they're even going to landscape around the pond. They're going to put a staircase that goes down all the way to that level. And they wanted to get us out here as early as possible since the main estate is complete. But in the future, that part is going to look even better.
Okay.
Now, let's continue our tour. On my right
something
hand side, we have the
improving nature question mark.
Side of the home. Doors open up from the great room, and we have the French doors open up from the original cabin section. You have a really nice outdoor seating area here, fireplace on the other side.
This is really nice. I do love the exterior fireplace idea though.
More seating areas, and again,
there's so much seating. How many people?
I don't know.
Oh, the long vanity sink.
Yeah. It has no give to it.
It's so bad. How many people would you need at this house, though, for this outside to actually feel like it was being utilized? You'd need to have, like...
Looks really
nice. I feel like you'd need a family of, like, 12 people. Like, maybe a multi-generational house would be able to... Like, a multi-generational family in this house would make it feel more comfortable. I'm not sure. But... yeah, if you heard from the beginning, so the reason why we started watching this tour is because I'm generally morally, like I'm a pretty big environmentalist with construction and stuff. And we were talking earlier on the stream today about how much space the average person needs. We watched a good documentary that talked about the average like amount of square footage a person needs in their house. And so it was funny because I had this one on my watch roster. It's a little bit contradictory to say it's an off-grid beautiful mansion, but then have all of these like ridiculous, exuberantly stupid design choices integrated in it. So, but yes, 500 people. Oh, here we go. Let's unmute
Currently
this.
working on the fire pit, and it's one of the few properties that has the permit to be able to build a fire pit or a fireplace outside, which is awesome. They don't allow that for any other or newer homes.
What?
But this one has been grandfathered in, so
What?
it's awesome.
That's weird to me. From Canada, we can build fire pits anywhere. There's no restrictions on that, to my knowledge. But
they actually have a utility area where they ran the lines and water lines for a possible or future hot tub here. So you have it. All you have to do is just put your hot tub and you're ready to go.
This house also has a helicopter pad, by the way, though, so it's one of those.
And I want to talk about one more thing. This property consists of 5 different lots, which totals up to 49.11 acres. And that's a lot. And you can do so much with that space. You can divide them up, build other homes and sell them. You can build guest homes, or you can keep it super private as it is.
No, keep ranting. This is why we watch these tours here. I love other people's opinions.
It is definitely a legacy estate. I feel like someone will buy this property and keep it in the family for generations.
They fucking better keep it for generations. Yeah, why are the chairs so far?
You have your solar arrays. You're totally off-grid, which makes this property honestly that much better. So,
aesthetically, it's very pretty.
Home? First, you need water. This home has
I hope a resort buys this.
500 plus feet into an underground aquifer with a state-of-the-art water filtration system. You'll also own the water rights, meaning you'll never have to pay for a single drop of water. Second, you need power. A lot of power. An average American home uses around 30 kilowatt hours of power per day. This home has 8 solar arrays, each with 15 solar panels. Combined, they produce around 41 kilowatts of power, which is stored in a series of large batteries.
The average house is not 6,000 square feet. The average house is not 6,000 square feet. I still would like to know how often they have to He said at the beginning of the video that this house is still, even though it has its off-grid solar array, that it's still tied to the main grid. And I am not convinced that this is enough solar to, with the size of this house, to keep it off the main grid entirely.
But easily power the whole home for several days. The solar panels are also built to
I'm wrong.
So during different times of the year, you can change their direction to always get the maximum amount of sun exposure on your solar array. If you somehow manage to need more power than the solar panels and the battery storage can handle, then you have 6 1,000-gallon propane tanks that run a generator that can power your whole house for months without needing any other power sources. This is our first time to tour a home like this, and it's fascinating to see this kind of take on a residential build and how feasible off-grid living is with the new solar tech. And
so the only thing off-grid about it is it's solar.
Fully off-grid and self-sustaining makes it so unique, and it just offers such a different lifestyle.
The one perk about being off-grid, though, that I will say, except if you have $25 million, I don't know if it really matters. The perk of being off-grid is that you don't pay any money for your energy fees, and the amount that it would cost to power... Oh, we didn't even see the basement yet. Holy heck, we're still going. Okay, I'm going to pause this. Is that 4 bunks? Okay. Oh, 5 beds. Okay. Plus, I guess if someone sleeps at the window, that's 6. The attractive aspect of being off-grid is that you don't have to pay for your utilities. So... Again, I mentioned this at the beginning. I think I was curious for the intent of it being off-grid. It feels less... The intent is less to be off-grid in order to be sustainable. I think the intent for being off-grid here is a little bit... It was kind of giving like prepper vibes almost. Like millionaire buys the house, not because he cares about the environment and wants to lower his carbon footprint, but because he doesn't want to be reliant on like the utility grid system in his area or pay for into energy or anything. That's kind of what it's giving more than anything else, especially because at the beginning they talked about they can store like thousands and thousands of just water, well water on site and stuff. So it's off-grid in that way. Not in the way I would have liked to see, but this basement looks ridiculous too, so let's keep going. I do love the floors though. These flagstone floors are stunning. Also, I'm surprised it's only a 3-car garage and not like a 6-car garage.
Takes us to the screening room on the left-hand side.
And we have another wet bar. So there's the wet bar on the upstairs beside the kitchen, which is 5 feet away, and then the wet bar in the basement, which is beside the pool. This is a really pretty pool, though. Actually, I think this is one of my favorite indoor pools I've seen. I really love the, like, it's like moody vibes.
Yes, it's an oversized spa. By the way, it has an electric cover as well. That way you can retain the heat here very easily. You have wood look tile on the back. And on the other side, you have your screening room. And in between, you have this awesome bar with sink, fridge. This place is perfect for entertainment. I feel like I would come down here all the time. In the screening room, you have oak paneling all around. These leather recliner chairs with the stitching looks so retro, so timeless. And the seating right here.
Yes, they have their 18-foot bathroom vanity, so they're happy.
Sunk in. A lot of times when we see these screening rooms or movie theaters, it will start off on the floor level and it will eventually go up.
I want this sofa. What is this sofa though? This actually looks sick.
And developers told us that this is the spot to lay down, relax and watch TV. And I totally agree.
There's a comfortable.
I want that in my house.
100-inch TV. You have
not the giant theater room, specifically just that chair.
Awesome spot. And gets better. Mikey, I know you know this, so let's show it to everyone.
We love a good secret room.
That's right. Come on in.
Wait,
this
what?
house has a secret safe room. It has this super cool
See, it's giving prepper vibes.
door that opens up. It's not like the ones that we've seen on other homes where they're small. This one's actually really spacious, ton of cabinetry. You have a TV, split air conditioning.
This is where they plan the secret
has a half bathroom,
bank robbery missions like Ocean's 11.
It even has a fridge. I mean, everything you need. All right, let's
This is
continue
insane.
our
It's
tour.
got. Okay, did you see the art on the wall? Those were guns. This is a prepper's house.
Back to the
You can't
screening
convince me
room.
otherwise.
And on the lower level, we have a few more bedrooms.
Secret
that
Bond
we're gonna
villain or
see.
something.
And after that, we have a really, really special surprise for you guys. Now, let's come here. We have a full bathroom here. Think about this bathroom as your spa bathroom. Open walk-in shower with 3 shower heads.
This
That way
house does
2
get the
people can
finishes
shower at
right,
the same
though.
time.
I love
Book
the
match on
wood,
back. You have your
like the reclaimed wood
vanity
everywhere.
here with a concrete sink that I personally love.
That is
Pictures look
stunning.
great.
I'll give them
you have
that.
reclaimed wood all around the bathroom, including the ceilings, your water closet. Pretty cool bathroom. Now, let's continue our tour. Same flagstone is on this hallway. The walls on our right and left-hand side are your concrete footers, essentially part of your foundation. And here we have the laundry room that we're gonna come in a minute.
Wait, there was a laundry room on the main floor with 2 washers and 2 dryers. And there's another laundry room in the basement that we're coming back to in a minute.
Now, I wanna take everybody to the bedroom on our left-hand side. Super spacious room, queen bed, wallpaper, carpet on the floors. Definitely a very, very cozy room. Comes with a fireplace, TV.
Also, beautiful fireplace. They get their fireplaces in this house really right.
Now, the second
This one
bedroom-
definitely also feels the most like a hotel suite room, though. Just like given the, I don't know if it's like the weird beige color
Comes with a fireplace,
or if it's
TV.
like, yeah, this one feels like a resort
And
room.
around the
Maybe it's the
corner,
lack
of course,
of
you have a full
windows.
bathroom with beautiful finishes.
I
Now,
don't
the
know.
second bedroom is even better in my opinion. Starts here. This is the bunk room and it's so cool. Look at the whole setup here. For sure the biggest or the most impressive bunk rooms we've
Okay, so wow.
ever seen on this channel in any cabin home.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 beds in this room.
Awesome. I mean, you have a king size bed here, single on top, built-in seating area with an egress access. Then you have 2 more
So
singles.
who are
2
the
fulls
plebs
here.
that have to stay in this room
I
then?
mean, what a fun room. You have a seating area, TV, reclaimed wood pretty much all around. Pretty awesome. And comes with a really spacious bathroom. Let's go have a look. We have the walk-in shower here with the glazed tiles. You have 2 water closets and the Brockway sink with 2 faucets.
Yeah, maybe the pool
Beautiful
too, I
finishes,
guess, if
walk-in
you're a
closet.
spa person.
And this is the
I know
bunk.
there's that like
Now,
type of
fun part.
person
I wanna
that
take
really
everybody
likes
back
like
to the
saunas are
hallway
kind of a
so we
hot
can go
thing
check out
amongst
the laundry room.
kind of the like Sigma
It starts right
grindset
here,
dude
stacked
bro
washer and
types.
dryer, cabinetry. We have few utility closets here behind these doors, but more importantly, we have this door.
I feel like the person that would buy this house is one of those, yeah, kind of like Sigma grindset bro crypto thinks he's enlightened doing yoga every morning type
Opening
or
up this
something.
Crazy long
This is the tunnel. Oh my god, I called
that
this at the
takes
beginning.
us all the way to the detached guest home. It is designed with
This
the
is so
reclaimed
extra.
wood on the ceiling, on the walls, and wall sconces to really capture the
Yeah, they
Utah
had
mining
they had
heritage.
4 more of
It's
each
awesome,
of those
and this
machines
also
on the
saves you
main
from
floor.
going outside to go to your detached guest home. You have this connection right here.
Yeah, this is incredible. We've never seen anything like this. And I told you all to remember that mining cart earlier. This is why.
At the original cabin.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and we have the staircase taking us to floor above, where you can see the control panels for the solar arrays.
Holy
right
shit.
behind this wall, we have the batteries for the solar panels. Super cool. And coming here, we have this small hallway. Door on our right-hand side opens up to the exterior, and that's the main door for the detached guest home. This door opens up to the garage down below.
There's more
and we have
washers
the
and dry.
staircase
Look,
behind
there's more of them. They're back here. That's
detached guest
crazy.
home. This door opens up to the garage down below.
Why?
And we have the staircase behind me, taking us to the second floor of the guest home. It's an awesome open space, perfect for entertainment. We have the billiard.
This is really
table
pretty
here,
though. Again,
bar
it's
seating on
resort
this
vibes.
side,
This is the
French doors
this
opening
is
up
the
to
rec room at the
front-facing
the
deck,
mountain resort.
Foosball table, and this part actually comes with a full bathroom, which starts right here. You have your walk-in shower, vanity, window facing the back. And the reason they have a full bathroom here, if you're entertaining, you don't want to go to the main estate. And on top of that, you can easily convert this space into a few bedrooms and make it a proper guest home rather than this entertainment space. We have the L-shaped couch, TV on the wall, stacked stone, vaulted ceilings, and you even have a small kitchenette bar here with a fridge.
So this
sink,
is the
dishwasher drawer and all this cabinetry.
third or
Again,
fourth
same reclaimed
kitchenette.
wood
I
that
think
we've
this
been
is the
seeing throughout.
fourth
They
kitchenette
also
on the
utilize this for the
property.
cabinetry here. And on top of that, my favorite detail, it comes with an outside deck.
I thought
Let's
this
take
guest
everybody
house
there
though
real
on the
quick.
other side would have had a bedroom in
French
it. It would have
doors
kind of
open
almost
up,
been like an in-law suite
and
or whatever,
you
where
have
you
more of these
you
outstanding
send your
views. You have the
parents
main
to
estate right in
live.
front of us.
But
This is just
I guess
awesome.
not.
I love how they designed the home where you utilize outdoor spaces as much as possible from every single room. And we're at the guest home deck right here.
Huh.
Now, that
See,
wraps
it
our
does
tour
like
for
even from the exterior, it's mountain resort. Bed and breakfast vibes.
this incredible property, but of course we're gonna spend a few more hours here, wait for the sun to go down so we can see this place. It does.
Oh. Yeah, the one thing they did get right that I really appreciate is like the furniture and the finishes are really on point in this design. I think like that leather sofa here that you see is so beautiful. All the fireplaces and how it's all designed, like it's really beautiful. It's just exuberant, and like I don't know if you caught me ranting about this terrible vanity wall too in the main primary room here, but I hate this. But like the kitchen finishes, like the finishes and the furniture, so pretty. And like I love all the natural stone that they incorporate. This is like, yeah, it's mountain resort
All right,
though.
everyone, that's it for the tour.
It could be
I hope
like
you all
a
enjoyed this
crazy
video.
wedding venue or
Stunning
something.
property, and the fact that it's fully off-grid makes it that much better. And as always, you can find more information about this listing in the description of this video, so make sure to check that out. Also, I wanna
Crazy,
give big thanks to the listing
crazy.
agents, Thomas Wright and Carrie
Oh
O'Brien,
my
who
God.
toured their amazing listing and shared with all of you. And if you enjoyed this video, just make sure to give us a like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
It's like, yeah, like rustic wedding venue. It's beautiful. It's just for a resident, like I could see it maybe being okay if you had, I don't know, like a multi-generational household. I can't see like a single family with like 2 kids or even like an older couple. Like the kind of person that has $25 million to buy a house like this, I don't even know if they have, do they have enough friends to invite over? And it's very remote. But very interesting. I'm glad we saw it. I really like the finishes and all the natural textures in the design, and I think that they do a really good job. I wonder if I can find a good example. They do a really good job of incorporating a lot of texture tastefully, which I appreciate as well. There's a lot happening in terms of textures and finishes and upholstery fabrics and like the patterns on the tiles and the natural stones and stuff, but I think it is done well. So I'll give them that. But wow, what a build. No, thank you. There was one more on my watch list that I wanted to get to. It does make me feel a little, yeah, it's like, to be honest, I don't love doing these exuberantly huge McMansion tours too much because of that very reason. It's crazy to me how much excessive, what's the word, like consumption there is in, especially when it comes to like what's supposed to be a house. Properties like this, there's a problem, especially in North America. I think we're seeing this in a lot of places in the world where we're viewing homes as like we're viewing them as investments first. So someone who has $25 million to spend on a mega mansion like this, I don't see them buying it because it's a feel-good family home that they want to live in full time. This to me feels more like, oh, I need some place to park my $25 million to hopefully appreciate in value over time. It gets a little bit interesting when you consider how it's like rural and on 50 acres as well, because in terms of investment, like from an investment perspective, the reason why like millionaires especially will gravitate towards real estate is because it's a tangible investment. You look at like the stock market, for example, and how much it fluctuates and how risky sometimes investments can be, especially if companies go bankrupt and stuff. Land will always be land. Same thing even with looking at like currency, and it's a safe place to park your money. Land is also from a real estate perspective and where trends are going and stuff, where I'm getting a little bit nervous about the prospect of land, because we're seeing a trend of corporations actually, and a lot of overseas investment buying up our large land properties. My partner and I are looking to buy land long term, eventually, probably in the next like 3 to 5 years here, to kind of do the off-grid homestead thing. And I've been paying attention, and it's getting a little scary what's happening with like corporations like BlackRock and stuff that are just like buying up real estate, including land, because it is tangible. But if you think about it too, it makes sense, but it sucks, because like currency is kind of it's a human construct. It's a man-made concept, whereas land is land. So it's crazy. I hope a company buys it and turns it into a resort. It's much suited for that. It still gives lobby resort lobby in this main living room dining space to me. But I had one more tour that I wanted to watch today before I have to go. Let me go to my watch list. It was the recommendation of a friend of mine. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with is it Cara Delevingne? Is that how you pronounce her name? I'm not too familiar with who she is and her celebrity status, but yeah, I had a friend of mine that was like, you need to watch this house tour. So let's maybe watch this one before I have to leave today, probably when this is done. But I'm very curious. So I love house tours. Usually we'll watch tours that are more like related to the content that we're focusing on that day. So you can see in my title, like we're doing a tiny house design series right now. Oh, do you 3D model as well? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. We have one of the worst housing crises. I think last year I'm not familiar with the terminology that you mean by like 5 no and 3 no, 9 no. I'm not familiar with that terminology. Is that something specific to like the zoning or the building in Ireland? Number 5. Oh, okay. I actually haven't I haven't heard that terminology before. Interesting. That's cool. One of the worst, I think last year we had a 9-bedroom. Holy heck. That's crazy. It's insane to me. Oh, I see. Okay. I didn't know. I'm an architectural professional, but my primary area of focus is commercial architecture and interior design. So I don't do residential in my line of work, and I don't have any residential experience in my background. So I was like, oh, is this an industry term that I'm just not familiar with because it's not my wheelhouse? But yeah, on my channel, so we're doing what I like to do, and it's my whole kind of shtick, my intent with my channel. I just started streaming in February, but I'm an architectural technologist. I model buildings in 3D for a living, and because I'm a technologist, I focus more on the 3D aspect of things, the 3D modeling, coordinating between consultants and stuff. But I really like design, and I like to do it for fun, and I also like design that isn't constrained by budgets or any of those other realistic client expectations and stuff like that. So we are doing a bunch of like design projects, or my intent is to do design projects on this channel like I would in the industry. So kind of following the like typical design process from start to finish, doing pre-design, schematic design, design development. Probably not anything into like construction drawings and stuff, because that's my job. I don't really care about that too much. I'm more interested in like design development, and I like specialize in like 3D rendering, and we do a lot of fly-throughs and stuff. So application of materials and stuff like that. So just today, actually, we are launching the tiny house series that I want to do, where we'll design and model a tiny house from start to finish, approaching it as I would in the industry. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Tiny house is kind of what we're doing right now. I do have some real projects though in my actual life, like my bathroom reno and stuff, that we'll also eventually do on stream, and I'd like to have chat help with like picking finishes and picking fixtures and stuff like that. So I think it'll be fun when we get there too. But yeah, it's been a good time. There isn't really like a huge following for like architectural and interior design on Twitch that I've seen. I've been trying to comb around in the tags to see if there's any other streamers that are kind of doing I use Revit. Revit 2023 is what we'll be doing the tiny house build with. I've talked to a couple streamers, one using SketchUp. A lot of the ones that I see are actually Spanish though, or from Portugal. Is that Brazil maybe? And or from Portugal, the country. But unfortunately with the language barrier, I haven't really been able to connect. But yeah, it's fun. We kind of just like launched the pre-design stuff today and looked at like how we were going to approach picking a trailer and stuff for this tiny house design, but that was pretty quick. Did it in under an hour and a half, so we're kind of just hanging out and watching tours now, which I like to do. I see a lot of tour reactions online, but not a ton of architectural professionals actually commenting on like the design aspect of tours. I see a lot of people pointing out like the superficial kind of surface level aesthetic aspects of tours, but I really want I want to like spread awareness on like what constitutes a well-designed practical space too. So I had to try. Oh, are you streaming as well? Gave up pretty quickly because of work. Do you get really busy too? Yeah, I feel like that's kind of that's my theory around why there isn't as many architectural or interior design professionals in the stream space on Twitch quite yet, because like I got into streaming because my job went full remote after COVID, and so it actually became pretty common. I started watching streaming around 2020 when the Among Us era kind of revved up, and so because I focus more on 3D modeling and drafting construction drawings and stuff, I akin that to like painting or drawing, and so it's really easy to have a stream going off to the side while I'm doing my work. It's really easy to kind of focus on both of those things. So I've been watching streams for, I guess, like 2.5, 3 years now, I guess we're coming up on. But I still can't believe that there isn't really any design streamers that are doing architecture and interior design yet. So yeah, Lip Balm, if you would like to connect after stream, like I'd love to chat more. I think there's a space for it. It's just, yeah, I think the even this week it's a deadline week for me. So I've been trying really hard to stream twice a week to pick up how often I get to hang out with chat, but it gets really difficult when deadlines come first, and I have to work overtime to to actually like do that first and foremost, which is kind of unfortunate. But it's kind of exciting whenever I hear there's more of us. There's more of us. So, here, I'm just going to, this ad will skip here. I'm just going to let it play through since it has to go through for a few seconds here. And it's kind of crazy to me because I think there's a market for it. I see a lot of following behind Sims, like Sims 4, Sims 3, like kind of building houses, and Minecraft building and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, that's understandable. I've noticed, yeah, you walk away for a minute and then anybody that was your viewership when you started tends to drop off, unfortunately, and that seems to be the sad reality of streaming. I've really, just because I feel so passionately that there's a space for it, I've actually prioritized coming online every Friday afternoon at 2 and staying for at least 3 hours. Started on YouTube first, though, didn't have much luck there. I don't think that the algorithm on YouTube for streaming is really conducive to more just chatting and non-gaming content. And even now, it's nice I can hang out in the just chatting category now, but when I'm 3D modeling or I'm rendering, I don't know which category on Twitch to go into. I've seen there's one woman from, I believe she's from Turkey, who does 3D modeling as well, and she actually has a pretty good following, and she puts herself in the art category. But is it art, or is it, sometimes I'm like, am I makers and crafting? We did my camper van design before this. I'm building a camper van, so that I did try in the makers and crafting a couple times to see if that would go over, because it's a real project. I am actually building it, but I'm like, okay, maybe art. Do people want to come hang out? And the intent, I think, long term, I think it would be really fun to get some design discussions going and get some help when we get to things like picking finishes or talking about layout design and stuff, like kitchen design. How big do we want the sink to be? Those are conversations I'd love to make collaborative and bounce back and forth with people on stream. So is the art community as engaged? Chatting is generally a little bit more, I think, the anticipated or the intended point of the just chatting category is to bounce off of chat back and forth. So I've been hanging out here for for now at least. But which software do you render with? Because there are so few in the makers and crafting section, though, so maybe use that for the camper van streams. We've completed the camper van design series. Actually, it's all done. So I have a YouTube channel by the same handle as my Twitch handle, and I've uploaded all of my previous VODs and doing the highlights there. And I'm trying to post the highlight videos by design phase. So I have there's a pre-design / as-built highlight video, a schematic design highlight video where we do the floor plan, and then I'm working on the design development highlight video right now. We just finished it last Friday. So Oh no, it's done. Devastated. I'll give it a watch through. Oh yeah, it is done. Yeah, sorry. But honestly, I am kind of happy to be out of it though, because my primary area of interest is more like home design and interior design. And I do feel like the van build, while it was a good springboard for getting into streaming, because I just started in February, but while it was a good springboard, it's a project I'm familiar with. I feel like in terms of like YouTube and my algorithm on socials, it was kind of putting me in this like weird van build / mechanic niche that I don't know necessarily if it was the direction I've wanted or intended for it to hit. So that's why I'm so stoked to start this tiny house design series and get more into actual like conventional design and the design of spaces that people might understand a little bit more, because I think when it comes to home design, people understand bathrooms, they understand bedrooms, especially because we all live in houses, so it's spaces we're all familiar with. That's why I think house design tends to be a little bit more approachable too, and why I've picked that more as my focal point rather than just architecture as a general focus. Because I think in my experience, architecture is a general focus, especially getting more into like commercial architecture there's interest for it, but it seems to be the most interest is piqued from other professionals or students. But house design is one of those funny things that I think because people are more familiar with it, it's a little bit more approachable. Like HGTV, which is our home and garden TV network, I think is like the, rather than like Spaces. I'm sure we're not alone in that feeling though. Thank you. Yeah, honestly, thank you for coming and hanging out with me today. I appreciate the support with what I'm doing, cuz yeah, like we have the Home and Garden television network. I don't know. Are you from Ireland, Litblom? I don't know if you'll have that over there, if it's in Europe at all, but it's the 9th most popular television network in North America. So I'm like, okay. And like YouTube as a platform, there's a lot of content for like home DIY stuff and renovation stuff. And I think there's a lot of space for conversations around this. I just don't see it on Twitch. And it's crazy to me because there's so many. We have Grand Designs, if that's similar. I'm not familiar with that. I'm gonna write it down. I'll look into it. I'm curious. Grand Designs. Okay, I'll have that in my notes on the side here. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so where I was going with like architectural and interior design professionals though, Grand Design stream. Okay, I'll do it if I look into it. We can watch some stuff. I don't know, yeah, like we have on our Home and Garden network, we have like House Hunters, which is like, I don't know if you've seen that show or heard of it, but it's kind of fun because it'll be a couple trying to find a new house and they'll go to 3 different houses and then you find out which one they picked at the end. But it's really fun to watch because it's like you get to see so many different choices for like layouts and finishes, and it's so like frustrating sometimes because they'll be like, oh, I don't like the paint color of this bedroom, so I don't want to buy that house. And then you're like, come on, you can change that. But yeah, I think architectural and interior design professionals are very busy in their line of work. We tend to have a lot on our plate, and I think this industry on its own is kind of fulfilling. Like, to be an architect or an interior designer, if you're there and you're working on projects, I actually think it's a very fulfilling industry, especially when you're able to actually go see your designs in person and you are more involved on the design aspect of it as a creative person. I'm very fortunate because I am a lot more like I'm on an integrated design team, it's called. So I'm very intimately involved in the design process at the beginning, hence why as the 3D model professional though, so I don't make the design choices, but I get to do the design modeling and the 3D rendering of the interiors and stuff, which is like, in my opinion, it's so sick. I've done mostly in like commercial offices, but I've done some retail and stuff, and I've been able to physically go and walk in to spaces that I've been a part of and helped design, and that's a really, really cool feeling. So like, to be blunt, the reason why I started streaming on Twitch in the first place, this isn't on Netflix, is it? I feel like the name sounds familiar. I find the 3D modeling the most fun to read. Yeah, it is therapeutic. Yeah, it's definitely on. There's actually condensed episodes of House Hunters on YouTube. If you look, I didn't really get to react to it too much, but my last VOD from last Sunday was I was doing some permit drawings while reacting to House Hunters. It's this HGTV is the television network, and they have a whole playlist. They have a bunch of really cool shows, actually. They have this one, so they have House Hunters here, and then they have like House Hunters International, which is getting into like tropical places or different countries, which is really interesting to see. They have Love It or List It, I think, is another really cool one, because what they'll do is they have to make a choice between if they want to stay in their renovated house or if they want to move into a new house. So how the show progresses is while they are looking at potential new houses to move into, they will have a team or like a contractor renovating their house back home. And then you kind of get to see like just like a lot of different options. So that one's kind of cool too. I'm curious, about this Grand Design TV network. I'll check it out afterwards. But yeah, like the whole reason why I ended up getting into streaming in the first place, honestly, is because I've been doing commercial office interiors for 6 years now. And I've been asking, I love my company. I actually am very fortunate that I do like my job, but I've been asking for a very long time to be moved into Queer Eye is such a good television show. I agree. I've been trying to move out of commercial office interiors and getting into just more areas of design. Like I would love to get more into residential or into like institutional, like schools and government buildings and stuff, just like anything different, because I'm kind of like, I don't know, you stay in offices for long enough and they kind of all start to feel the same. And so I'm still in commercial offices, and I think part of the reason is because I can do them quick, and so that tends to be like you specialize yourself and it gets hard to leave because then you're learning a whole new thing, and that takes a little bit longer, and when it's project work it is time and money. But I decided, I was like, well, I kind of want to just like play around with design that I'm interested in. And then too, if I'm gonna be stuck doing offices, I might as well do not offices on stream with other people somewhere else. And I also feel too, I think I'd love to kind of get more into educating others on like house layouts, like the impact of space in your life. Like I feel so strongly that how you design your space, and it maybe doesn't have to be constricted to just like the walls and the permanent stuff, but how you design your space around you, I think, can subconsciously impact how you feel and are in the rest of your life. So I'm very passionate about design and well-designed spaces, especially at home. I'm relatively new to it and only started a couple of years ago when I quit my last job as a joinery designer. What is a joinery designer? I'm curious. But then I do want to get this video started. I have to go in about half an hour. But yeah, no, this is exciting. Thanks for coming to hang out with me today. I'm stoked. This is like I've had some people hanging out a little bit, but I get a lot of lurkers. So to anyone else that's lurking, I haven't even checked how many. Oh, there's just one of you right now. But but yeah, it's been fun. I like Twitch. Okay, let's go.
Guys.
Let me know if the volume levels are okay too.
Hi AD, I'm Cara Delevingne and welcome to my house. Leo, come on. Okay, yeah, see you later. Be back.
It's also kind of giving hotel lobby with those chairs in the front. But wow, whoa. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
This house is one of my favorite places to be. It's kind of like an adult
Whoa, that
playhouse, I like to call it.
ceiling.
So we start off here. This is
I
one of
really
my favorite
love, I'm
places
so
in the house.
glad, I'm so glad she has so much color. Actually, this will be something I want to talk about at a different stream, but I just find it so tragic how there is this seemingly, I think we're moving away from it, but the kind of like monochrome, maximum 3 colors, all neutral, like that trend, I'm so glad. Like, I am so glad this isn't that. I think color is so fun, and there's so much missed opportunity.
I just tend to kind of stand in front of it and stare at it, but don't stay too long because you might start to hallucinate. And as we go into this other room, this is kind of the main sitting room.
Is that lattice on the ceiling? What? That's really cool.
And the Gucci wallpaper.
Ceilings are another place that I feel like is often underutilized for doing.
This is one of my favorite pieces in the room.
Just like
It
little
reminds me of being in
accent
England.
things.
I don't know why, with like horse straps, I suppose. We have a beautiful fireplace in here for the winter. A rotisserie chicken thing, which I've never used, but it was part of the old house, but it will hopefully one day be used when
Does she
I'm
live
able to get my family here for Christmas. That
in
will be
Europe?
amazing. So this is the kitchen.
Oh no, it's LA.
I love
Okay, so
that
it's not
colour
like a
blue.
historic
I think
home.
it's one of my favorite colors. We have a massive pantry. So after the kitchen, we're gonna go into the like main dining room.
The cabinets are a really
This house
pretty
before,
color
It was
though.
built in around the 30s, but before the guys who owned it, it was very black and white. And I wanted to lighten everything up, brighten everything up. And I took one of the
Wow.
old art pieces from my first AD thing with my sister, and I put it in this house, the Chemical X. Shh, Alfie! That's me trying to be calm. Alfie! Come here, baby. It's okay. It's okay. This house is very hard floors, so when you step on the floor too much.
What
it
is
hurts
this
your feet.
piano? Oh my god. Sorry. Is it? I want a better shot of it. Hold on. Go back.
Okay.
Oh my god.
It's okay. This house is very hard floors.
That's crazy. That's so cool. And okay, there's so many things happening in terms of texture and color, but I think it works really well. Her grandfather is no friend of Ireland. Who's her grandfather? I don't know who, I don't really know who she is or her celebrity status or what she does or anything. I'm a little bit out of the loop in that regard, but and this fiddle leaf fig is that a fig? I think it's a fiddle leaf, or whatever this plant is. It's so big and it's beautiful. I wish I could have one in my house.
So when you step on the floor too much, it hurts your feet. That sounds so spoiled, and I know it is, but I got a little mini razor scooter. So
Oh
I
my
could take
God.
From my bedroom to the kitchen.
Oh my god, that's so extra.
So now we're back into the
I don't love the
drawing room. I
chandelier,
call this the
though.
games room. This
The chandelier does feel a little out of place, unless it ties in with the piano. It's hard to tell without
well,
seeing
it's
it in one
see-through
expanse. But
piano, which I like to play piano on naked because I've been alone in this house for a long time, so generally I would be naked, but obviously AD said
the
no to
ceiling
that,
is
so
stunning,
don't
though.
know
I
why.
love that
As we
wood
come
on the
over
ceiling.
Here, again, Hugh Hefner is a big inspiration for this house. You know, this is kind of feels like my
Oh my
Playboy
god,
mansion.
right?
I was very.
I saw this whole article about bringing back. Have you ever seen wallpaper accent on ceilings? I thought it was actually a really cool concept. Obviously, in specific executions, and it has to be done tastefully, but I'd never thought of the idea of wallpaper on a ceiling before, and it was very cool.
I'm lucky to work with my architect, Niccolo Bini, who I worked with on the last house. He made all of my mad, crazy ideas, which, you know, some things I thought he would say, we can't do that, or that's kind of crazy. But he made all of them come to life. I'd say if I was Alice in Wonderland, he'd be the Mad Hatter. So this was probably the newest thing that he helped me create. I think I called him up one day and asked for this, and he genuinely made this happen. So this is my vagina tunnel. Should I go through? Oh God. And then you're inside. Do you want to come in, Alfie?
What?
Come on, baby. I come in here to think, I come in here to create, I feel inspired.
Is this all?
So
Is this
I'm
all
gonna
it
show you
is?
this
Wait,
lovely
where
lady.
did? What?
Yeah. Oh God, Leo, watch out.
I understand why my friend was like, "You need to watch this tour now." That's ridiculous. Oh my god.
Oh my God. Okay.
Imagine what it would be like to have that much money that you could just do that.
See, rebirthed and cleansed.
Fucking
Again,
feminism,
Nicola
let's
made that
go.
idea come to life, which I never thought possible. I think that was kind of a test to see how far he would go, and he went there. This is another bed that we bought from the old house. The double bed bunk bed, which, you know, is great for if you have friends over, which again, I haven't been able to have, but one day.
This must be during COVID. When was this? Oh, a year ago, okay.
Of this house, because again, it's kind of crazy, and there's Leo again.
The neon too.
This is my favorite bathroom in the house.
What?
This is the David Bowie shrine. To try
Holy
and turn
shit.
it into an
What an eclectic house. I feel like I can't even, like, I don't even know if I can have any design critiques on this, because at this point I feel like the decor is almost just like art. Like, it's so, it seems so representative of just like who she is that I don't want to like roast anything. Because it just, I feel like.
Japanese puzzle boxes. Oh, wait a minute. Hi. Look at who it is. It's me and my sister and Lucy. They're all cute. Yeah, I collect Japanese puzzle boxes. So if anyone ever wants to have an idea for a present for me, that's what I should receive.
What?
It's kind of a weird thing to say. Also, my Chanel surfboard. If I were to go surfing, I would only surf with Chanel.
Is that something that she just got gifted?
Oh, this is my bedroom. Every time I walk in here, I feel calm again. Again, kind of with the theme of Alice in Wonderland, I have these like beautiful urns inside.
That's pretty.
I have this wonderful piano by my bed, which makes me feel really happy because I wake up and I just play. This bed is obviously, this is from
I
my
am
old
appreciating
house.
this tour because I would never in a million years do this. But I like seeing.
Lovely bouquet of vagina flowers.
This is so
Vagina
unique.
Appreciation. The theme of this house, it's not Alice in Wonderland. Every room has a different theme. But again, I feel like the theme of this is definitely like a Mad Hatter's Tea Party. But there's like jungle theme, there's Beverly Hills
Like, I can hardly even tell what's happening with like the layout and stuff just because it's so busy with all the textures.
And plants galore. So it's still jungle, but I definitely think it's a bit more mad. So then we go out here. This is kind of my little like garden sanctuary. We have like all the plants and the lemon and orange trees, and we have these curtains you can kind of close if you want privacy. This is an extremely peaceful area.
Also, this is
like
pretty.
when I go sit in the
I'm
morning,
jealous.
I need a script to read.
I do
or
want
something that
a
needs to get
patio
done.
like this.
Oh, look at Alfie sitting on the bed like a good boy. These are his stairs. Or just my stairs if I need help.
It is a tall bed.
But you never know. It might happen. This is my wardrobe. Everything, again, like I said, was very dark.
The wardrobe is as big as the bedroom.
It was hard to see any of the clothes, so we decided to kind of paint it all white. So as we keep going through here, this bathtub is everything. A massive TV, you see this little walkway. It's quite scary probably for the gardener who sees me stark naked. I forget to put down the shade sometimes. Then I have the steam
I'm seeing
shower,
a theme
which is
here.
brilliant. This toweling chair, a his and her sink or a hers and her sink, you know, depending on my mood. This is my shoe cupboard, which is basically just trainers and boots and like one
So
or
she's-
two pairs of heels, namely these, or lots of
Again,
stripper heels,
I'm having
which
a
is
hard
great, 'cause
time.
they're
Like,
actually
okay,
very
I think
comfortable.
if I saw this home on its own with the bones out and like, or like without all of like the art and the interior design, and it was just like the bones, the typical layout of this house, I'd have a lot of thoughts and opinions on how huge the closet is compared to the bedroom, how there's a separate closet for shoes here. But I feel I mean, she says she's been here for a long time. At this point, I feel like it kind of just suits her. Like, I'm not mad about it for some reason because it seems to just suit her.
Yeah, lots and lots of boots and lots of trainers, which again describes me perfectly. So as we go back through here, thank you, Leo, for guarding the door. Come here.
Oh.
This pool table is such a beautiful color. It's obviously vintage and just stunning. I'm pretty good at pools, so watch out, everybody. This is my favorite cue. It's pink. And then I like to just kind of stand. What? I'm joking. I knew that was there. That was probably really bad, wasn't it? Anyway, this is a secret door. I love things like escape
Rich people
rooms.
love secret
that was kind of
doors.
a lot of inspiration for this house was like experiential. Again, like every room has a kind of different theme. So this is upstairs.
What?
This carpet is one of my favorites because you're just like following the tiger up the stairs. A lot of what this
I
house
love
was
that
based on
carpet.
is like in my job and everything I do, I have to wear a lot of different hats. So I thought anyone who comes upstairs, you have to get a different hat. So, you know, there's a hat for every occasion.
Does she go to Burning Man?
This is someone's personal favorite Usually people come and claim their hat, or people give me a hat, depending on.
Some of these hats are giving Burning Man.
This one would kind of match my look, right? Oh, chic. This is my favorite wallpaper. Have I said that a million times? This is Jonathan.
That's true.
He's an artist. He's an incredible artist who's done a few portraits of me. This is also my
Yeah, she's definitely like.
It's not very neat, but it's pretty
Again,
cool.
I just feel like if I were to critique the space, I'd be critiquing her character, and I know nothing about her, so I feel guilty about it.
Come up and just like get out of their heads and just have a laugh. This is kind of like David Lynch inspired poker room.
Sick.
So welcome. This is where I take people's money and put it into the house. I'm pretty good at poker. My poker game of choice is Texas Hold'em. But I got taught recently by my godmother, Joan Collins, some
How much
other
acid does she
poker
do?
styles, which I'd never heard of, like baseball. I haven't played before until I played with her, but she's very good at poker, so that's kind of funny. I did not know this, but I feel like if you can, everyone needs to have a ball pit in a near vicinity. It doesn't matter what age you are. The meaning I have from this house is you just never grow up, you know, always kind of maintain.
I'm not mad.
Some sort of childlike
This is hilarious.
or joy or just the
Oh my
need
God.
for fun. They're really great for stress. You can't cry in a ball pit. I've tried. If you cry, jump
The secret is she actually loves doing acid, and she needs an excuse to have these hilarious things in her trip
I've ever had
house.
is just gone into the balls. The balls hold the stress now. I'm gonna put that back. Are you kidding me? There's a shoe in here? That's not cute.
Really? Okay, I'm gonna do some digging into who she is after this video a little bit more intently. Maybe it needs to be a prerequisite to some of these tours, especially with celebrities.
Big movie freak. So this is the projector screen, which comes down from here, the sofa, and you just get cozy and just have a marathon of movies. It's been really great.
Honestly, yeah, it's so hard, especially if you're in the public eye, to
any like big cinema movies
to I guess step in your authenticity.
Even watching an Apple screensaver on this thing is amazing.
So I do actually appreciate how
this is another
how
bar.
little she
Again,
cares.
we tried to carry in the theme of jungle and kind of taking the beautiful green throughout the house. There's a lot of golds, a lot of greens. Obviously, I like to drink Della Vita. Me and my sisters co-own this beautiful Prosecco company. This is a wicked little arcade machine which has every single arcade game you could ever want. All the old ones, you've got Tetris, Pac-Man, play 2-player, you could do that for days. And then we have that next to the this is an old classic vintage jukebox, which I picked out
Also
all of these
cool.
45s myself. This is my band room. This is where I like
This
to
is
play
just like,
music, instruments.
she has so
I
much
play
money to buy
drums
whatever
and
fun
piano
thing
and
she
guitar,
wants, and
so I
she
can kinda
has all of it. She has all of it.
Kind of move
If I
around
had
and
money,
play with people
I would
when
too.
they come over. This is
I'd love to
guitar
have
was given by Karl
a
Lagerfeld.
jukebox like
This is my
that, and a
David
ball
Bowie style
pit.
guitar. This is obviously like crazy fan girl freak out, like can't even deal. I played drums since I was about 8, so like 20 years. Ow. Again, another secret door.
What?
This room is another continuation of my old house. This is kind of a little more sexy. I call this the pink room or the pussy palace. Everything is, you can touch. Again, it's all very like
Oh, it's all
touchy, I
acid.
suppose.
It's all
You know,
acid.
A swing if you want to play. Lots of balls, mirrored ceilings and all. It's the pink pussy palace. That's what I call it. My mother always said, if you're bored, you're boring. So.
This whole house is just a trip
We have this,
house.
like, indoor-outdoor area.
100%.
Kind of like a seating area with a parrot, again Jenga.
But again,
Another
no, it's
bar,
it's
which is
done
beautiful.
well.
I mean,
It's
I
done
spent a
well.
lot of
I'd like to
time
know
out
if she
here
has
because I
hired
could do
like
trampoline.
help
Oh, no.
to achieve that, or if she just
thought I
has
could do
really
this for
good
a second,
taste
but I can't.
to make it all work
I don't know
together.
if these are meant to have C's on them, but I don't know if they're for me. But I'm just gonna say they are. But that'd be pretty cool. This outdoor area was mostly stone, so there was no grass, which someone that loves green and nature, I really wanted as much grass as possible, and especially because I have dogs. So we kind of created these little islands of grass. This is definitely Alice in Wonderland. If you take a look inside, it's insane. It's so beautiful.
Whoa.
And this is just such a comfy, nice place to sit when it's sunny and you don't want to be in the sun. I want to figure out how to, I don't know, put a laser show up in here or something.
Oh.
This pool was, again, one of the reasons why I bought the house when I saw this pool. Everything about this house was different to every other house I'd seen. And this is, you know, where I have barbecues. Still haven't had one, but that will happen soon, hopefully this summer. You see the lions. They're my spirit animal, they're my star sign. I've met some lions in real life. They're really just incredible. But there is something to be said, like if you get intimidated by a lion, they can smell it. But if you show no fear, it kind of just is a metaphor for how I am in life. Like fake it till you make it, or at least just exude the thing that you want to be. I think fear is the biggest obstacle in life, and if we can kind of get over that, you can really do anything. So, I think that's all.
Life advice.
I can't obviously take you in the
Facts.
dungeon downstairs, because
Manifestation 101.
secrets. It's a joke. I don't have a dungeon. That would be weird.
This is crazy. This is really cool though. I'd love to like walk around this space and be able to feel what it's like in person. Because I think it's really hard to be that busy and have that much going on, but still feel
Sorry guys.
cozy, homey, relaxing, and it seems to tie together well. Wow, cool.
AD, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for letting me show you around my house.
What a crazy tour. I'm glad we watched that. That's insane. Huh. Yeah, no, again, I can't critique anything on that. That was sick. As far as celebrity houses go and stuff, I really enjoyed that one. And again, I think it has to do with the like radical authenticity. I think where it differs from, like you mentioned, the exuberantly large mansions that we see the tours because they are for real estate agents. They're obviously trying to appeal to the masses, trying to appeal to everyone. I'd like to know the square footage of the space too, because it was large, but it didn't seem incredibly exuberantly large, which I think was how many bedrooms did we see? I think we only saw 2, maybe 3. So, and then I guess there was the upstairs, which was like a whole thing too, but that was really cool. That was cool. I'm glad we watched that. Wow. Neat. I do have to go. So unfortunately, I have plans this evening. So I must run in a little bit, in like 5 minutes here. But again, thank you for coming and hanging out with me today. I have been trying really hard to get a second stream day going. I'm trying to aspire for Tuesdays at 2 p.m. MST, and then I'm here every Friday at 2 p.m. MST for sure. Sometimes I poke in on like random days, like I streamed on Sunday last Sunday because I had like an actual freelance project that I was working on, and we just watched House Hunters and hung out for a little bit. So I don't know if I'll make it this Sunday though, but again, thank you so much. Next time we're going to start the schematic design phase of our tiny house and get into more of like the programming side of things and what we want to include in it, how big we want it to be, the different elements and aspects of it that we want to incorporate. So we'll spend some time thinking about that, and like maybe we'll get to some preliminary like floor plan sketching and kind of doing some like schematic bubbling to kind of figure out how we want to do the preliminary configurations of things. I'm not sure if we'll get to 3D modeling quite yet. We still might be a few conversations around that, but I want to watch some tiny house tours for inspiration next time really bad. So we'll focus, that'll be more of the focus, I think, is more on the tiny spaces. But so again, thank you so much. I have to go, but enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye.